welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. Why would you watch the worst ones? Just watch the best. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by a very happy, a very cardiganed Mr.
Andy Conduit Dunn. I do have a cardigan on. And hello, everybody. How's it going?
Hello. I'll answer for everybody. It's going well.
It's all right.
Um,
You wake up every day, you get up. What else can you ask for?
exactly. I look. The reason I laughed at this during the intro is because I just looked at your face at the moment, and you looked.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
was
know, something
looking,
about
I looked like I was giving like a nice smile to my picture in the background here. The lovely curls of the star of our movie.
wonderful curls. I can only imagine what it would be like to have a hairstyle so large,
Yeah.
and wonderful. And you know what? I like it. So, as previously advertised, we were supposed to be having Danny Thompson, Scream Queen, horror actress on the show. She can't join us this week, unfortunately. However, she will be returning in a future episode. So don't worry if you're looking forward to her appearing on the show. I hate to break it to you. It's just me and Andy this week, but she will be back at some point in the near future.
Yeah, the
So
real life horrors of actually scheduling and having to do work and things like that. So that's okay. If you were looking forward to it, you're welcome. You get to look forward to it for a little bit longer.
are you the kind of person who likes to look forward to things longer, or do you need it now? I want it now. Give it to me.
If you want the latter, tough. It's going to be the former for you. So get stuck in, everybody.
Yeah, good things come to those who wait. Um, so this week we're discussing another 90s slasher movie. We've done a few over the years. We've done your Screams. We've done your I Know What You Did Last Summers. We've done
You've done a Valentine.
we've done a Valentine. I was thinking about Cherry Falls, and I realized that we haven't done that. That's another sort of this era slasher
We
going
haven't
on.
delved into the extremely probo Cherry Falls.
Is it Probo?
It's pretty probo.
Can you elaborate in any way? I can't
Um,
remember.
I think it's in. I mean, it's not like seriously probo. Like it doesn't say. You know what? Who I reckon was right. That's right. Exactly. You thinking of one of those bad lots, but
Oh,
it is very in the same way that Friends of its era is very like, oh my goodness, that some people wear clothes not designed for their gender, don't they? That's a scary thing that makes them a
oh,
murderer.
that sort of stuff. Oh
And
no, now I know. Now I know. It's all
yeah,
hit me. I know exactly why it's potentially Probo. I was thinking the title. Is it something to do with popping your cherry? I know exactly what you mean. But of course, we've seen that throughout decades of horror. It always seems to be a slasher trope that people go back to. The only way I can describe it is it's because it's not gender dysmorphia really. It's kind of like
he's mad,
weaponized.
and that's the and that
He's mad. This guy's off his rocker.
you seen him
Yeah, in a wig,
bonkers. He is.
in a skirt. It is that kind of thing. And
It is
yeah,
a bit that.
of its time, it's a bit proper. We've seen it in various films. I completely forgot. Maybe that's why. I knew it was a bit probo, and my brain went, you know what? You don't need to remember this. But still, could be good. Could be a good topic for a discussion on the show to discuss why it's potentially probo. But then, even representations of mental illness, you could even discuss it in this film as well, where it's
Yeah,
like there's even a bit where like a certain character's like, I've tried therapy, didn't work. I've been depressed and off my head for ages. Now I've just murdered loads of people. And you
yeah.
go, yeah,
I mean,
understandable.
I also bearing in mind as well. We'll come to it in this, but bearing in mind there is one particularly harsh line that is delivered by someone who I looked up in the credits is literally only credited as bitchy girl.
Oh, someone definitely uses a particular, maybe like slur and an ableist slur, possibly at one
Yeah,
point. Uh, yeah, it's definitely
it's a different time. And
it
Jared
is a
Leto's in it. Bloody hell.
and Jared Leto's in it. But to be fair, this is Jared Leto, I think, before he realized he was an
A
Oscar-winning
method
actor.
actor. I tell you what, he
Yeah,
looks younger now as well.
it's all that bloody lizard blood, or
All
whatever
that
he's doing.
human growth hormone he eats up.
He does 900 sit-ups a minute. I don't know, something like that. He's got abs for days. But yeah, Jared Leto. It's weird though because I watched Urban Legend and I watched the sequel, Urban Legends Final Cut, and I watched the prequel. Is that what we're saying? The third
Yeah,
one,
that's all right.
Urban Legends Bloody Mary, and it's weird. They've all got like kind of a big name in them. So in Urban Legends Final Cut, Eva Mendes is in it, which is interesting in a very minor role. A very minor role. She doesn't do all that much apart from be a lesbian. And the reason I say be a lesbian is because it's a lesbian as written by a straight man, where they've gone
Yeah.
lesbian.
Cool. They're sexy, aren't they?
She says to a
Cool.
straight man, if you're a woman, I'd fuck you, but I'm not. So on your bike, and
I mean, is
something
she a
else
lesbian
where
or is she a philosopher with that kind of thing, talking about the
exactly.
conceptual and realities?
Exactly. And in Urban Legends Bloody Mary, it's Kate Mara. It's what's her name? From Fan Four Stick herself. I mean, she's been in loads of other stuff, but she's also
It is a terrible state of real world horrors that's exactly what I went to as well. An actor, I believe an Oscar nominated actor,
oh
that
no.
and the first thing we go to is, of course, Fan Stick.
Fan Four Stick. Star of The Martian, Brokeback Mountain, 127 hours. Shooter with Matt Damon. But yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I guess slashers of this era do seem to be a bit of a jumping off point for certain actors to try and make it big. Who's like the most famous major name? I guess you it probably is Jared Leto, right?
Yeah, in this one, I feel pretty bad that lots of the others, you know, probably have more to do in this film and get lower credited and aren't as famous
Yeah,
today. But he says
Alicia
not being able to
Witt.
pull any of the names. So Alicia Witt, I didn't recognize from many other things apart from in this era.
Yeah,
And then naturally
she.
you've got television's Tara Reid. I mean, movies Tara Reid from Sharknado and American Pie fame.
Yeah,
You've got Pacey from Dawson's Creek, and we get a Dawson's Creek joke in it.
hate that.
Um,
Did
and
you
of course, we have
recognize
Lex Luthor himself, Michael Rosenbaum.
Lex Luthor himself? We've got Robert Englund. Did you notice Danielle Harris from Halloween 4 and onwards
I did.
playing the gothiest goth that ever did goth? No one's been more gothy than this. She's absolutely raging at all times. Calm down.
Listen, Ben, there's two things that the character Danielle Harris, like: cigarettes and the
Chain
internet,
smoking.
dial up internet.
Dial up internet. I'm in a chat room looking for goth fellers to just come round and give me a scene to. I'm listening to Rob Zombie, and everything my seemingly quite nice roommate says to me, I'm gonna bite her head off.
Really fucks me off. Do you want a cup of tea? For fuck's sake!
I'm sick of you. Can I just use the phone? Oh, what's that? You're on the internet. Ah, it's bloody my room as well.
Yeah,
Ah.
she's raging in this film.
Yeah,
Um,
too
yeah,
much of it.
lots to talk about with this one. I tell you what, we can talk about how it's aged, the things that we enjoy about it, and we'll give our review shortly. But before we do that, Ben, is it time
Yes.
for a wee slice of news?
A wee slice of news. So first of all, I'll go and talk about the Static Sea, which is an immersive horror experience that we've mentioned on the show a few times, taking place at Flatholm Island. This Saturday, the 30th of March, is the finale taking place live. It's being recorded as well, but it's also taking place on Discord where you can witness it happening, unfolding in person. And I got to speak to the creative minds behind it, Jim and Sophie, fairly recently, and talk all about what was happening with it. And so, an interview, a bonus episode, will be coming out pretty much straight off the back of this episode, I think. If you listen to this episode brand new, lined up next should be the bonus episode talking to Jim and Sophie. So I recommend you go and check it out. I'm super excited to I was excited to find out more. It sounds great. And if you're into like immersive horror experiences, God, I might start losing my voice then. I'm not welling up. If you're into immersive horror experiences in any way, I think it's a great sort of segue to get into this sort of stuff because it's definitely very cinematic, brings in a lot of stuff from literature. And even though I didn't find out much and I didn't pry too much, the word monster was mentioned more than once.
Oh, I.
being relevant. So, yeah, link or put some links in the show notes as well. But it will be the next episode, the bonus episode coming out probably a day after this one. So,
Wonderful. And at the time of listening to this, depending if you're a bonus episode head or not, this episode with Ben and I talking about Urban Legend today is sandwiched between two
ooh,
bonuses.
delicious.
So if you're not listening in order and you want to go back, oh, I'll skip a bonus episode, sort your life out, mate. Go back and you'll listen to hearing myself, Andy Conduit Turner, talking to Alex and Keir, the directors, writers, the team behind Kill Your Lover, one of the films that we saw at Fright Fest Glasgow, but didn't get to catch them all. We were like ships in the night we were, didn't get to catch up in the streets of Glasgow. So we caught up, had a lovely 45-minute or so chat about making the film and everything like that. I had a lovely time talking to them. As we learned from the sort of 2 minutes interaction we had live in Glasgow,
Yeah,
it's super nice. So it was nice to sit down and talk to them properly.
amazing, amazing content coming at you like a man in a trench coat, not trench coat. What kind of coat is he in? Anorak.
Duffel coat,
Like a
big
man
anorak.
in a big anorak in your back seat of your car, ready to decapitate you. We were discussing this. Do you think you could get enough of a swing to decapitate someone from the back seat of a car into the front seat?
Yeah, I mean, that's one question, Ben. And my answer to that question is no. My second question is how do you, if that's what you're doing as a murderer, how do you intend to survive the surely inevitable dangerous car crash that would follow?
That's true. Some people just
Do
want to
you
watch
assume
the
if you
world
chop
burn.
someone's head off, they're just going to roll carefully to a stop and then go, well,
Yeah. Well, because what you
there we
do
go.
is immediately if you lose your head, you immediately your body is programmed to brake. You
Takes your foot off
immediately
any accelerators that
You
you're touching
immediately
at the
take your
time.
foot off any accelerator and hit the brake, which is handy. Handy, handy. Um, Apart from that, news-wise, there's been a few trailers this week that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet,
Yeah,
including
bring them
the
up, Ben.
teaser trailer for Alien Romulus, which seems to return to the confined terror of the original classic. And of course, the Alien franchise is officially a Disney property now, and Fede Alvarez is directing with Evil Dead and Don't Breathe already under his belt. And this teaser trailer is for the film that will be released in theaters on August 16th, 2024. Have you seen the trailer? It's quite short. It's
I
kind
have
of
seen the
it,
trailer. Isn't it a lot of fun?
isn't it? It looks very much like an Alien trailer, doesn't it?
Doing all the alien stuff. They all look as xenomorphs do. All look all wet and slimy and mean. Best way to present them.
Some bloody
Um,
facehuggers leaping about.
yeah, they don't mess about, do they? Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Fede Alvarez made a very good Evil Dead film that I enjoyed very
Mm,
much. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this one. I would like, if it was my dream, what I would like is something nice and simple. I don't need backstory because oh, these xenomorphs,
no.
this is how they exactly exist. Just do it. Just do a thing, right? They say, oh, they're on here. They're horrible. Let's get rid of them. And let's go through it and like just give us a good, solid. I don't need their life story. I just want to see the xenomorphs doing that thing and have a good sort of tense sci-fi horror.
Mm, yeah, most definitely. I think that's definitely what we need. We don't need all of the mythology and stuff now. We need a good story with some great characters, some tense moments, some moments of horror. So we saw the face huggers leaping about and everything, didn't
Yeah.
we? Maybe a Fede Alvarez at the helm is going to have a sort of like brutal nature to it. A brutal, by its very nature, the xenomorphs are brutal and unforgiving. But we want to see it play out in front of us.
Yeah, want to see it
Um,
live in space.
so I looked at the timeline, and apparently it's like if we're counting Alien Isolation as canon, which of course I think we should, it
Yeah.
takes place between Alien Isolation and Aliens. So if Aliens
Okay.
was 57 years after the events of Alien, I think it's maybe like 50 years after the events of Alien.
Okay.
So a few years before Aliens. What does the Romulus bit mean though? Do we know?
Uh, One of the founders of Rome, or is it just that the ship is just called
The
just
Rom.
so
Yeah,
happens to
yeah,
be
that
Alien Romulus because that's
Alien
what the name of the
Romulus.
ship
Yeah,
is.
that makes sense. Doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, looking forward to it. There's also a trailer for Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Also a teaser trailer. This isn't. We don't see too much going on here. Almost 40 years after the original classic arrived in theaters. 40
Don't
years.
say
God
that. Don't say
damn.
that.
Um. So yeah, the cast returning: Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and then plus Jenna Ortega, Willem Dafoe, Monica Bellucci. I don't think we know all that much about it in terms of plot, apart from the fact that guess what? I think, oh yeah, an unexpected family tragedy, and three generations of the family turn up to Winter River, which is still being haunted by Beetlejuice. He's still knocking about up in the attic.
Yeah.
Attic, that was wrong. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming
So is
like
I mean, well, I guess we'll find out in the film, but is Catherine O'Hara not in it as their actual mom, or is that character
she
recast?
is, she is in it. In the funeral scene, you can see her. Surprised she wasn't listed there actually, because I think I said this the other day. Her career is probably at its peak right now,
She's
isn't
at the
it? With
peak of her powers.
she's at the peak of her goddamn powers. So yeah, we've covered Beetlejuice on the show. Possibly we'll cover this one.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm looking
but yeah,
forward to it. I saw, as is tradition when anyone puts something out, especially something that people have been clamoring for years. I saw a few comments and some reactions to those comments, like so go, oh, I bet they're going to make General Ortega the main character, and there's going to be hardly any Michael Keaton in it. What, like the original Beetlejuice? You mean where he's hardly in it? He's in it for about
yeah.
10 minutes. Um, and Winona Ryder's the main character. You mean exactly in keeping with the original? Yeah,
Yeah.
possibly that is what's going to
No,
happen.
I mean my nostalgia tinged view of what that film was like. You know what I mean?
100% Beetlejuice, 100%. And then when he's not on screen, everyone's asking, "Where's Beetlejuice?"
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, chanting for him.
Oh, you can't do that. It'd be being
He'd be all
summoned and
over it, wouldn't
unsummoned. Yeah, he'd be sick of
he?
it.
Summoned and unsummoned. You know what's going on. So yeah, there's that. And then another trailer that I wanted to mention is a film called Humane, which is being directed by Caitlin Cronenberg. These bloody Cronenbergs, right? Turning
The
up,
Cronin
daughter
kids,
of
lovely King Cooper, and the
Cronin kids. These bloody Nepo babies are making their own movies, but making their own mark in the genre filmmaking space with Humane, which is a film about how 20% of the population must volunteer to die. Oh, bloody hell. In a wealthy enclave, a recently retired newsman has invited his grown children to dinner to announce his intentions to enlist in the nation's new euthanasia program. But when the
okay,
father's plan goes horribly wrong, tensions flare and chaos erupts among his children. Starring Jay Baruchel, Emily Hampshire, who we saw recently in Mom, uh,
and Mom, yeah,
some other people as well. Um, but yeah, there we go. Interesting. Euthanasia. Well, what could drive you to euthanasia? Just sick of it. Sick of the.
20% of them as well. Like, is it going to
It's a lot, isn't
be,
it?
oh, going to give them to aliens, or
Mm, interesting. Human meat. Maybe run out of
yeah, need to make your food out of people. That's good.
yeah, interesting. But yeah, obviously the Cronin kids, or one of the Cronin kids has done well with his films so far, so it'd be interesting now to see what Caitlin does. Let's have a
Yeah.
look.
Oh, I'll,
Got
I'll
out.
turn up for that. That sounds great.
Yeah, hell yeah. Uh I mean that's it for news, I guess.
I've got one
Have you
bit for you, Ben. A bit of
you've got a little bit
speculation.
oh, speculation, my favorite type
Well,
of
not
news.
speculation. It's what's happening, and of course it could change. But at time of recording, one day ago, the first reviews are in for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Have you seen
And
this news?
they're very positive, aren't they?
Currently, at time of recording, 100% critic rating fresh.
100%.
100%. That's
Listen,
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 and Paddington Bear 2, the two
listen,
100% movies.
listen here, right? If I meet you out and about and you say to me, "Hello, I'm a cinephile. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed Citizen Kane, Schindler's List, Amelie, I don't know, anything like that." But if you throw Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, has it got a tagline?
I think
More
that's it,
blood,
right? More
more
blood,
honey.
more honey.
If you throw that into, I'm not going to take you seriously, unless, of course, I go and see the film myself and it changed my life.
And you go, bloody yeah, I've never thought of it like that.
I never thought of it like that. We're finally the first instance of the Pooniverse is coming together. Um, soon Pinocchio will be unstrung. Soon there will be a Bambi
Neverland
reckoning,
Nightmare. Yeah,
a Neverland nightmare. Oh Jesus! You know I'm not going to be able to see my favorite Disney classics in the same way ever again. It's going to be
yeah.
horrific.
Oh, like, it is interesting though. I know that obviously we've seen it had a greater budget. Like I think my hype for this is higher than ever. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with this one now.
How do we see it? Is it coming to the
It's getting
cinemas?
cinema releases right now, I think.
Right a
I'm not
second.
sure I'm not sure how broad the release is, but
Oh, there's too much. There's too much out. I don't know what to do with myself anymore. Like, and it's weird. You go for like a few weeks and you're like nothing's out, but now we've got
absolute drought, nothing to watch.
it's everything. Obviously, yeah, we'll get into it when I talk about what we've been watching. But there's still plenty more to watch, and then April looks absolutely stacked. Jesus. Uh, yeah, but I guess we should move on to what we've been watching. Have you seen
We
anything
should.
of note this week?
Just a couple of little things, Ben. Not too much. I've continued playing Alyssa,
Oh
that
yeah.
game I mentioned the other day, the sort of lo-fi Resident Evil like
Mm.
going around fighting off some clockwork dolls in a little mansion. I
Oh.
realized it can't be particularly long, even though I haven't got very far. I've just delved in and started to look around and get no bosses under my belt yet. But one of the achievements on it is to finish the game within 2 hours. So it
Oh.
can't be especially lengthy.
Mm.
But apart from that, I also went and absorbed a little bit of culture at the theaters, Ben.
Yeah, of
I
course.
went and saw a play called Bluebeard by a Southwest director by the name of Emma Rice, and it sort of it doesn't sort of it exactly adapts an old classic fable. And which has also been adapted to films over the years. You might know the story, might be familiar. It's about a young woman who meets a mysterious man, and he gives her everything. He whisks her away and takes her to his house. He marries her. They're happily married. And when he goes away on business, he says, "Right, listen, do whatever you want. Have a lovely party in the house. Have a great. You can have all the fun in your world, but do not open this door of the house. And it's it's forbidden. Don't look in there. Don't open the door. I'm going to leave the key here, just
Oh,
here,
don't leave the key here.
but don't open it." And it goes in, and she's it's about exploring about that. It is the play itself was in equal parts funny and light-hearted throughout, and then quite devastating, and harrowing towards some parts of it as well. So, hence why I'm talking about it on a horror show. Loads of stories that talk about, and I wanted to bring this up. We've talked about having messages and talking about trauma and terrible experiences that people go in, the real life connections with the horror stories that we tell. And I think of late, you can say it, Ben, I've been pretty critical on some of the versions of it that we've seen.
Mm.
But one that deals with particularly, I don't want to spoil anything, violence against women and things like those topics come up very, very heavily, and those
Mm.
cycles that come through there as well. But really skillfully done. It shows part of the message of the whole thing. The film still really wraps up nicely, and it comes away one of those that you've laughed all the way through. You've enjoyed loads of parts of the performance, brilliant musically as well. Lots of the performances in there as well. Then you do have to have a little sit afterwards and just kind of like sit in that for a little while and go, fucking hell.
Mm.
When you get to the end, it is still touring. Reason I bring it up here as well, depending on where you are in the country and the time you're listening to this. If you're in the UK, I don't know if there's any international tour planned yet, but it is still touring throughout, I believe, the majority of April. I believe it is in sort of the middle of the UK. It's in Birmingham in the next couple of weeks. So
Mm.
if you're around and you're listening to this and you want to get a little bit of culture up here, then you could do far worse. Get stuck in.
Yeah. Sounds great. Where did you go to see this?
I saw this in Edinburgh last weekend.
Mm.
Yeah, but that
Amazing,
was
man.
good. Let me have a quick look here. You know what? I will touch upon it. Apart from Urban Legend, I also had a rewatch in anticipation of our planned guest. So I have to watch it, but again, when she's next available. I watched Eating Miss Campbell, but I'm going to pause on that one, Ben. I've seen it before, and I think my feelings on it are quite clear. I like it. And if I look back to my review, I said that anyone who tells you that you cannot recognize your tropes within a genre by hanging a lampshade on them, you're not using big enough lampshades. And this one uses the bloody biggest. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It's a lot of fun. But it was your first watch of that. So what about you? What did you think of it?
Yeah, so I watched it. I was kind of watching it in anticipation of Danny joining us on the show. Um, but yeah, I thought it was very as a trauma film. as well. It's obviously got that trauma flavor. It's very, very over the top. It's very silly, bit on the nose in terms of the script. Lindsay Crane, obviously, who's been on the show before discussing How to Kill Monsters and probably will be on the show again, discussing something soon. As a guest, she's great. She really
Yeah,
is good, and I think a lot of the supporting cast are great as well. It's very over the top. I mean, I'll just read out some reviews that I kind of saw. People are saying repugnant, childish filmmaking, silly, gory, funny, and over the top. These are all great, and obviously there's lots of familiar faces if you're familiar with independent British horror movies as
yeah.
well. I think it'd be a good idea for us to try and get the director Liam Regan on the show as well. Obviously, his previous film, My Bloody Banjo. I think both of those films have shown at Fright Fest in
Fright
some
Fest
way,
over the
shape, or
years, and
form. Yeah, yeah.
we haven't met him for a long time, but we had a good time when briefly bumped into Liam as well, right? So yeah,
I
absolutely, we should
think
see when he's
we need
around.
to, and we need to do more trauma as well. Obviously we've done the Toxic
Yeah,
Avenger, and it feels like this Toxic Avenger remake is just where is it? I feel
it's
like I thought it
teasing
would have.
us, right? It's because it had some festival releases last year, mostly in the US. I don't think
Yeah,
we've had a UK premiere yet, as far as I'm aware.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but they're dangling it over us, and of course the game is incoming as well. Previous guests, John and Sam, working on that. So
yeah. Of course.
maybe when we get to that time of the year when that comes out, we'll get
Yeah.
some of those faces back
Mm.
and
Um. Yeah.
do it
Uh.
again.
Of course. Sounds awesome. In terms of what is that everything you've been watching, by the way? I didn't want to go through
That's everything
anything.
I've been watching, but I will cap this off for anyone watching the video, and mostly for your Ben and for you Ben as well. If I disappear off video at any point, it's not that I've got better stuff to do, mate, and I'm not thinking I've just got to text someone or just roll my eyes at you. If you can't detect it from the audio, and I'm very sorry if you can, got a little bit of a cold, and
Oh,
basically
I got the old coldy sniffles.
for anyone watching the video, when I'm blowing my nose, either you don't want to be seeing that, and if you are the type of person that wants to be seeing that, I don't want you seeing that. So I'll disappear
Yeah.
periodically.
I didn't even
But
realize.
you're
Oh,
not
dude.
missing anything. You're not missing anything exciting though. That's all
It
right. It's
is.
because I've
I'll tell you
got
what,
it under control, Ben.
podcasting when you got a cold is a bitch. Like, I've had it more than once, even fairly recently. Like, you think you're fine, and then suddenly you're just like, I'm leaking from
Yeah.
my
Or
face.
like you just feel like I'm starting to get bunged up. I can feel it. It's choking me out here. But yeah,
Making
so
me making me want to blow my nose. Maybe I'll join you.
that
Okay, a
that
couple of
bit of admin aside though. But yeah, other than that, that was all I watched this week. Been
so
busy.
I'm going to mention two films that I've seen, but I'm not going to really say anything about them because we're going to be covering these in brand new full episodes next month. You heard it here first. We're going to be covering a brand new film for every week in April,
It's Horror Hangout
including
Spring.
Horror
Hooray!
Hangout Spring. Exactly. Brand new spring babies born from the twisted minds of horror creators. So, Late Night with the Devil is the first one, which obviously has been getting rave reviews. There's been a little bit of discourse surrounding it. I don't know if you've seen that at all, Andy. Which we of course will discuss on the show as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would say, and I don't want to spoil anything, one of my favorite films of the year so far, as was a movie called Stop Motion, which we're also going to cover. Um, again, I don't really want to say too much about it, but that's a brand new film as well.
Yeah.
We're going to cover that in week
Keep your
two
powder dry, Ben. We'll be out there.
of the podcast. Yeah. And then of course there are a couple of other new releases for April, but we'll save those for when the lineup release goes live. So yeah, there's those two films that of course I will save my review for. I did also watch the Urban Legend sequels. But of course, I will include them in my discussion of the main film. But last night I did go and watch Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. We covered Afterlife on the show,
We've covered
which
Afterlife.
was
We've definitely spoke about the original, Ben, but my only question for you is does busting still make you feel good?
I don't know, like the modern connotation of busting, not busting for a wee, but busting. Uh the when everyone says busting and busting makes you feel good all the time in this film, I'm a bit like, oh yeah. Silly, silly. I love this franchise. So like spending a couple of hours in the company of these characters in this world always makes me feel good. Yeah. That part makes me feel
Yeah.
good. But I can still understand the problems that this film has, and like the plot's a bit Paper Finn. I want to say Paper Finn. Takes a while to get going. By the time like the main threat it appears, I don't know. Everything is just sort of um sorted out fairly quickly. It wrangles a lot of characters. There's a lot of characters, right? You got the classic legacy characters. You've got the characters from Ghostbusters Afterlife, and you've got new characters for this film. So we're talking at any one point there could be 12 to 15 main
Main
characters
characters.
in the same in like, and you know what I mean, to the point where I was forgetting about people until they reappeared on the screen. And even characters who get like written out of scenes because obviously they realize that there's too many characters, so they're like, right, we need to write out this character from a scene, let's just have them be knocked out. Do you know what I mean, like
Okay.
something like that. That person got slimed, so they're out of it for this next scene.
They've got to go change.
It's a bit like that.
Bit like in
So
the
I
Crystal Maze, if you fall into the water and you have to go and get dry, you're just
yeah,
not
yeah,
in it
yeah,
for a bit.
yeah. um
Um,
I still enjoy
so
some elements of it, but I feel like the whole thing, like Frozen Empire, I feel like should be the main crux of the film, but it takes a long time to get to that.
for anything
I
to be
think
frozen,
for anything to be frozen. And again, certain characters, certain actors are great in it. Like I think McKenna Grace is great. Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon are great together. Um, I think obviously having the
I mean,
classic
don't bury the
characters.
lead, Ben. Don't bury the lead. Is our patron saint and excellent hair kid podcast? He's still around, isn't he?
Oh, podcast. Yeah, he's still around.
There's
I forgot about him as well, to be fair. But
the
also now
fella.
like the classic characters, they're not cameos anymore. They're like fully fledged, I guess, like supporting roles. Um, you know what? It's all right. I'm kind of confused that it's not directed by Jason Reitman. I thought it was directed by Jason Reitman, but it's not. He's only like a co-writer on it. So it's directed by
Oh,
someone called Gil Keenan, who made like
David
Monster
Wrongman.
House. David Wrongman. He made Monster House and the Poltergeist remake. But you know what? Not all
Oh,
that
one of
much for
those
a
I
long.
like. I won't tell you which one.
Oh yeah, but not really much like that film. Oh wait, A Boy Called Christmas in 2021. Sounds silly. So yeah, it's. I think Afterlife is significantly better, but I think if you enjoy Ghostbusters, you're still going to enjoy this. There's plenty of nods to the previous films, and while that would probably annoy me in some franchises, when it's Ghostbusters, I kind of let it off, you know. Um,
You can forgive it. It's a big yeah. I saw a lot of the discourse around this is that there are some people that like and don't like various elements of Ghostbusters and the things that have come to follow, and I think the reply to that genuinely and generally has been maybe you need to accept that you don't like Ghostbusters plural. You just like the first one because you just like a
yeah,
1984 comedy as a single standalone thing, and you're not really a ongoing
I'm not afraid to say it,
franchise
right?
fan of this.
I think Ghostbusters 2 is almost as good as the first one. I feel like it gets critically, like the Rotten Tomatoes reviews and other things like that are super low for audience and critics. I think it's just as good.
My favorite bits about Ghostbusters 2 are I like the little wingman that gets possessed by Vigo. He goes, "Oh, command me, Lord." I like him.
Why am I drippings with goo?
I like him, and I like the bit at the beginning when they're doing a little kids party, and they go, "Who are you gonna call?" The kids go, "He Man, He
Yeah, yeah,
Man,
yeah.
He Man."
Hey man, hey man. Oh, even in the 80s, they were being pushed out and not relevant anymore. Um, yeah, and I love the fact that you can make things dance with the goo. You know what I mean? That's great.
Yeah,
That's great
yeah.
times.
Might have to rewatch
Vigo,
those.
the Carpathian.
I've definitely told you that Vigo, Scourge of Carpathia, used to live in the same town as me. I'm sure it wasn't the actual actor, but there was a man that used to go to the pub all the time and genuinely, and
Vigo.
he must have heard because, as far as I'm aware, wasn't a man with any hearing problems. People would like genuinely look, oh, look, it's Buddy Vigo. He's in again.
Oh, bloody hell. He's a
And he was
henchman.
just like that, except he wasn't wearing Carpathian
Oh,
robes. He was just wearing like a leather jacket and some jeans,
oh yeah.
but had the exact face of Vigo, Scourge of Carpathia.
Terrifying, man. He's a goon in Die Hard 2.
He is, isn't
He's
he?
a he is, yeah, he is. Good times. Uh, but yeah, that is pretty much all I've been watching. I will save, of course, everything else for the month of April. Um, But I suppose we talk about the film of the week,
We should. And remind us, Ben, in your
shall we?
traditional fashion, what is the film of the week?
In my traditional fashion, I'll remind you of the film of the week, which is Urban Legend, a 1998 slasher film directed by Jamie Blanks, starring Jared Leto, Alicia Witt, Rebecca Gayheart, Tara Reid, Michael Rosenbaum. It's the first installment in the Urban Legend film series, of course. Two sequels were spawned after that. Ratings wise, 5.6 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, 27% audience score, 37% critic score. Letterbox 2.8 out of 5. And some choice reviews. Ali Bug says 90s slasher films are always so campy and fun and so underrated. 5 stars. That's right. Count them up. 5 stars.
It's not
Haley
underrated, then
says
it's maximum rated by you.
maximum rated. Haley says this movie is the reason I always check the back seat when I get into a car, especially at night. 4 stars. Uh, Blaine Lamotta says the most unbelievable urban legend is Jared Leto as a journalist. Oh no, you didn't. You pulled his pants right down. 3 stars. And then single white femalian says,
Uh-oh. That's a
I hate when
twist.
I hate when my goth roommate does so much screaming sex in our enormous dorm room that I can't tell when she's being moided. And yes, they wrote moided like that. Moided.
So
And
she's so the
does
so that reviewer is, I guess, a 50s gangster.
hey, she's being moided over here. And single white femalian hasn't even rated the film. So they're literally using Letterbox willy nilly to write things like that and not even rating it. So,
Less a review, more just joke.
or just joke, yeah, which is good. This was a film that I remember seeing like around about this time, and I guess like yeah, alongside Scream, and I know what you did last summer and everything like that. It was one of the films that I'd seen. I've definitely seen more than once. I think the last time I watched it, according to Letterbox, 2020, when I had a bit of a slasher resurgence. I think I watched
Yeah,
Valentine then and Cherry
probably the
Falls.
spot of free time as well.
I had a little bit of free time, get the Urban Legend thing, but I'd never seen the sequels. But now I have. Um, so of course I will mention those as well. But yeah, are you a fan of the old Urban Legend?
Yeah, I've definitely seen the others. I didn't get to rewatch the sequels this time, but I've definitely been through the lot of them in the past, probably before I'd recorded dates on Letterboxd. So I can't tell you when, just sometime
Mm.
in the distant past. But I was pleasantly surprised by this. I don't remember. I'd There was lots of it I hadn't remembered until I rewatched it. There's some key scenes that I think it's easiest to come back to, and you obviously remember the premise because it's quite a good one, right? These urban legends in
Yeah.
particular. It brought back to memory another anthology that I watched quite recently, the last couple of years, Campfire Tales. I think we talked about it
Oh.
after I'd
Oh
watched on the
yeah, yeah,
show.
yeah. Okay, okay.
Um, it covers a lot of the same urban legends, except in a an anthology style, not like with an
Hmm.
individual slasher that goes through. And it has the axe murderer chasing after the car and the tapping and the flashing of the lights, and it has the aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light and things like that. In
Yeah.
many ways, done more horrifically with the older brother from Malcolm in the Middle, but
Oh
yeah,
no.
this was a nice this was a fun slasher
Hmm.
to go back to, and it fits all the. It feels like in an alternate universe, this is Scream. It seems weird that these two films exist in the same reality. Feels like this is the stone that
Yeah.
split the flow of time, and on one side of the universe there should be Scream, and on the other there
Yeah.
should be this.
It's like one is like meta horror where horror movies are the thing, and this is like where the same sort of thing, but with urban legends essentially. I would still feel like it could have gone a little bit harder on the urban legends because it almost had to be like explaining every single urban legend and how this kill relates to it, and sometimes it didn't always relate to it in the most obvious way.
Yeah,
It
and
was like,
yeah, I guess the premise as well for me, it struggled. Like the only times when I found myself taken out of it here when we were watching it is that how much of the success of the kills and the setups for it to be like an urban legend is so reliant on how other people will have behaved to go to these things. Like, how did you, as a murderer, predict that this was going to happen?
yeah,
Because, like, how do you know that you get in the car? She's definitely going to have to stop for petrol, and the gas attendant is going to be a little bit off-putting and creepy, and they're
And
gonna
have a
not
stammer.
they're gonna be a bit scared of that. Oh, tell you what, I hope she stops at this petrol station where it happens that the one ascendant that's on this evening, it's the guy with the speech impediment, not handsome Charles, who would
Yeah. Do you
immediately have rumbled my plan.
handsome Charles? Do you always find yourself looking in the back seat of the car? Because I find myself like I don't do it immediately, but sometimes if I'm on a long journey at night, I'll just have a moment suddenly where I'm like aware of the fact that there's a seat behind me. You're just driving, you're having fun, you're
Yeah,
singing along to I don't know, Wheatus, and then suddenly you go, "Oh, I didn't check the back seat before I got in. There could be anyone back there, anyone
yeah,
doing anything."
singing Wheatus.
Singing a little bit of Wheatus, doing the little female voice bit for Wheatus. We got 2 tickets to. Oh, who's that? Terrible.
Who's that? And they've got like a lovely big jacket on with a furry hood.
Oh, a lovely big jacket. Now, we do need to speak about this jacket because, of course, yes, every killer in the 90s needs to have a decent enough disguise so that A, it's iconic. The weapon needs to be slightly different. I know we did last summer. We got the hook. Scream, you got a standard knife, I guess. But with the ghost face mask. So of this, it's a anorak with a furry hood with an inexplicably dark circle in the middle of the face, like it's a black hole. Like,
Yeah, I think you later see that they're wearing a balaclava under it, but I was fooled for the same
oh
part of the
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah. Of course, of
you've just
course.
got you've just got a super dark face. I have a jacket a bit like that. I wore it after I watched this film and took the dog out. That happens when I take a picture. You just
Yeah,
see my face.
see my
Thought if
face.
only had
I'm
a balaclava.
I'm not going to spoil it. Well, we will spoil the film eventually, but what I'll say is, did you have any inkling at any point that this killer wasn't a big uh superhuman man?
No, I don't like. It's hard now because obviously a long time has passed since I saw it, and I did remember who the killer was.
Yeah.
But this film presents you an orgy of evidence as to who else it could be. Like our opening scene and the petrol station attendant, when that guy is Chucky, and
Yeah.
then Freddy Krueger's the teacher
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
school, and then you've got another man who is literally cast as creepy janitor,
Creepy janitor, yeah.
and
Too obvious, isn't it?
Jared Leto is the boyfriend character who's mysteriously absent for loads of little bits. Like,
Mm.
I feel like this film, as it got started, the scriptwriter said, "Excuse me, everyone, got to excuse yourself from the writers' room." They popped down to the local Morrison's supermarket, went down to Market Street, and said, "Give me all your red herrings, please, lads." And that's what they did.
Give me all your delicious red herrings. And I was gonna say, like for a 90s, I know we've had slasher movies where the killer is female. Of course, Scream 2 in 1998, I think it was 1998, the same year, we had a female killer, not just a female killer. I'm I might have got this wrong, but I'm led to believe that she was the killer in Scream 2 was also in the costume. It wasn't just
Yeah, I think
uh
so.
Timothy Oliphant, was it?
I
She was in
think
the
I think
costume as
she I
well.
think she definitely killed in Scream. Spoilers for Scream 2, an old film, but I think isn't it revealed that she definitely is the one that kills Randy because she's like, oh, like he did, like
Yeah.
Timothy Oliphant did loads of the murders, but Randy fucked me right off, so I got him.
Fuck me right off. I had to get him. She didn't want to get him in the middle of the day. Uh, yeah, and then of course we've got the likes of Pamela Voorhees, obviously.
Yeah,
Um, Annie Wilkes from Misery. I guess she's not a slasher killer as such, but I was looking at a list
more of a
here.
hammer killer, a bludgeoner
More of a
killer.
hammer killer, a bludgeoner. Yeah, I mean bloody ankles. So obviously we've seen that plenty, but I feel like for a 90s slasher, for the killer to be essentially working alone and being female, I think that was quite unique. However, however much you think that it's probably problematic that she's gone a bit nuts, and now she's a killer. But
Yeah. In other ways, though, maybe that's just me, Ben. We'll come to the reveal, and I was like, in some cases, there are lots of innocent people that had nothing to do with it, but for the main
hmm,
targets of the murders, a little bit serves them right.
yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. we'll come to it, but before we do anything else, Ben, and we talk about the other murders and the urban legends,
Mm,
I want to talk about the first murder that happens in this
yeah.
film. Know what that murder is?
Go on.
It's bloody total eclipse of the heart. That's the first fucking
Oh
murder we
God,
see
yeah.
in this one.
Total Eclipse of the Heart again.
Bonnie
Absolutely
Tyler. Bonnie
torn
Tyler
to
gets
pieces.
brutally murdered by this.
Tara Reid's character, who has a radio station, says later on, "Oh, I heard she was listening to my show when she died." It's like, no, she wasn't.
You heard
She
wrong.
just
She
said
was listening to
Total
it. She
Eclipse of
was
the Heart.
listening to a cassette of Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Yeah, and she put that. She was fine to put that on mere seconds after nearly crashing her car, near death
Yeah,
experience.
and she did
Moved
put it
on that
on, but
quickly.
and unfortunately, she put it on because she was sick of hearing you on the radio, Tara Reid. She's like, "Oh no, not the Tara Reid talks to people on the phone about getting stuck having sex hour. I'm gonna put my Bonnie Tyler albums on."
Yeah, exactly.
Did you
Uh,
have, Ben, when you were growing up? It might have been when you were at college. It might have been beforehand. Do you have like back in the days we didn't have a whole big music selection in the car. When you were a kid, you probably have one or two cassettes. What was your go-to?
Kung Fu Fighting was one of them.
The
That was
90s
one.
remix where it's the
Yep, yep. 90s remix Kung Fu Fighting,
I like
and
bus stop.
yeah, Bus Stop, Bus Stop. That's correct.
Oh fucking
What a
hell.
deep cut. And then I think a lot of Will Smith stuff. So I think I had the Millennium
Millennium, Big Willie style.
album, Big Willie style. That's some great songs. That Will 2K, that was a banger.
Yeah.
And earlier Will Smith stuff as well, like Miami
Fight the City with the heaters
and
on.
of course Men in Black and Wild Wild West. You know, I'm not a monster.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I had a an Erasure cassette that I used to listen to on the way to my swimming lessons of a Saturday.
Very nice.
Stickers Erasure on.
Get me in the mood
And
for
then
breaststroke.
the other one I had, absolute belter. Well, two. I'll give you two more cassettes. One was a cassette. Forget what I got from. I think my cousin copied it for me or something like that. It was like a dance album song which was based on the Sonic the Hedgehog music. It's called Supersonic. That was excellent.
Yeah.
I had a lovely cassette of that. And then at the Willow Tree, where we used to hang out and make some basses near my parents' house, I found a Salt and Pepper cassette, and I used to listen to that quite a lot.
Hell yes.
Had all the bangers. Had Twist and Shout on it. Had Let's Talk About Sex, Baby. Uh, other songs, but absolute
and other
absolute
so-
belters.
and other songs included, of
Yeah.
course.
So what all absolute albums.
Not
But
Total Eclipse of the Heart though.
this character, total eclipse of the heart, and she thinks, get Tara Reid off the radio, get Bonnie Tyler on, and then I would say any, especially of the era, a 90s film star, probably most of them were double threats. They could probably sing, they could probably act. Must be
Yeah,
quite difficult to act as an awful singer like this character has to.
yeah. Some people it just comes natural, doesn't it? You know, just being being tone deaf. It just comes naturally to
Yeah,
some.
but
And of course,
her singing is so bad that it drains the petrol out of a car like Billy O.
oh yeah, it literally just like happens in seconds. It goes.
Ew.
That's what happens when you if you look at it. Sometimes I play this game myself where I don't look at the petrol meter. So if I don't look at it, I won't know how close
And
to
it's gone
being
down.
empty I am. So I'll be fine. Don't ask, don't tell. But yeah, that happens. And she pulls up at the petrol station where no one's around. She just honks her horn. That's a bit rude, isn't it?
Rude.
Really
Yeah.
rude in first. Her
It's
name is
cultural difference, I guess. Like
yeah,
we've always and forever, as far as my memory goes, put your own bloody
pumped.
petrol in.
Put your own bloody petrol in, yeah. Michelle Mancini, her name is. And it's raining loads, and poor old Brad Dourif is the attendant. He's getting soaking wet. He's got a speech impediment. He's finding it difficult, bit of a stammer, trying to hard to communicate with her, and she's clearly like written him off as being a bit of a creepy old weirdo. She has to pay with credit card, to which now he's looking in the back seat of this car like a little bit like but we don't think it's a major deal, and he's clearly trying to get her attention to get her to go into the establishment so that she gets away from whatever he's seen in the back seat.
Mhm.
That's right, isn't it?
And he does. He goes, "Oh, you've got to come out." The credit card comes in the phone. They want to talk to you. unfortunately hasn't quite followed through with his ruse, and he hasn't got the credit card company on the phone. She realizes they're not there,
To be
maces him in the
fair,
eyes.
if this was any other situation where he was trying to get her, she's done really well. Laced him in the eyes, smashed the window with the phone, jumped out, driven away. But as she drives away and he leaps onto the front of the car and he's trying to shout, so I'm trying to get something out.
Yep.
But he can't because of his stammer. But as she drives away, it's a close up of him in the pouring rain, screaming, "There's somebody in the back seat!" And I kept thinking, well, might just be her mate asleep. He don't know any different.
Yeah. You're like driving home from a party, I mate to see the back car, but yeah, he does a big shout after her. And then we find out later in this film that he has also disappeared.
Yeah,
But
he's also disappeared. And the photo of him is literally like his headshot, like Brad Dourif's headshot. It's like a lovely, and I think I was how was parking attendant man. Well, I suppose he's a human being too. I know that, but he didn't strike
could
me
be
as the
working
kind
at
of
a
man.
petrol station while he's getting his acting career off the ground.
It was so ridiculous. You know, in films when they go and look at this photo of this person, and you look at it, and it's clearly like a publicity shot for that film. Like they're in the same clothes. They're like, and you just go, "What the fuck?" That's not real. It's either that or like the worst Photoshop you've ever seen in your life.
Of like them, like when it's like a parents and kids, and it's like here's clearly the production crew have got a picture of you slightly younger and you as a kid, and we've mashed these things together
Mash
because you
these things
weren't together
together.
and you weren't together when you were
Exactly.
younger.
It's mad. So yeah, while that's happening, the killer emerges with the big hood on. So how would you describe that axe? What kind of axe is that? Like a double
Like a sort of double-ended hatchet.
yeah, a hatchet. Yeah, it's more like a
I
hatchet, isn't
feel
it?
I
Yeah.
feel like this is basically a murder axe.
Yeah.
Not
You
not
can
the
murder
axe of like
either
a
way you want.
woodcutter, not the axe of like an ancient warrior that you'd see in a museum. A
No.
contemporary axe, which is for chopping people's heads off, in the same way that any baseball bat in this country is for smashing up people's cars with, because no one plays baseball here.
Yeah, that's true. Just doing a bit of baseball, mate. Punch him with a glove. And
Can't even make a fist.
punch him with the glove. Hit with the ball. That never happens. So yeah, she unfortunately gets decapitated by the killer. Um, and then basically we meet all of our main characters now, including the student. Is it Parker Riley? Okay, so all the main characters are kind of discussing these things. A few characters are sort of talking about what's happened, describing this massacre that kind of links everything together, the Stanley Hall Dormitory Massacre, which is
Yep.
something historical that happens in this campus. Um,
25 years ago.
25 years ago. And then Paul Gardner, upcoming hip journalist, discredits it as an urban legend. He's like, I got some serious sources here. And Paul Gardner is played by a fresh faced, I guess, pre Requiem for a Dream, Jared Leto.
Yeah.
So before all that stuff.
And right now
Uh,
he is out there being a lovely journalist. He has to run and get the story.
He has to run and get the story. He's always got one of those little side bags on, a little satchel. And the news of Michelle's murder spreads like throughout, but
By the
it's
school newspaper.
by the school newspaper, of which like there's the dean and the
The
campus
crusty
police
old
officer,
dean. He's not
the
happy.
crusty old dean, and the campus police officer, played by Loretta Devine, who we know when me and Charlie were watching this, noticed that she sounds ever so sleepy at all
Very
times.
tired.
Like she is a great character, you know. I like it. The fact she's just like a campus police officer who takes no shit. She likes Pam Grier movies,
Yeah.
but ever so sleepy. Such a tiny little sleepy lady's voice. Bless her. She just needs to get some rest. So yeah, we're basically introduced to all of the characters. The main character, Natalie Simon, who's got some kind of history of Misha Mancini that we will find out about.
Yeah.
Um, and then the rest of the fraternity, including like Damon Brooks, who's like a bit of a jokes. It's written here, jokester. Damon Brooks is played by Joshua Jackson, post Dawson's Creek.
Post Dawson's Creek, and
Post
he's
Dawson's
Mr.
Creek.
Frosted Tips himself.
Mr. Frosted Tips having a joke. He's always having a bloody joke, pretending to die. And
All,
then
all the all the classic jokes that he does, like isn't it? Michael Rosenbaum points out later, he goes, once he pretended to be someone he wasn't just to have sex with a woman. And it's like, yeah, probably that's a fun joke, Pacey.
that's a good, that's a quality bit of banter. That is. Um, so yeah, and then obviously, as you mentioned him, Michael Rosenbaum. Who how would you describe him as like a cynical? I don't know, kind of
He
cynical,
is
kind of
the.
bit annoying.
I'm sorry to keep pulling up the Scream parallels, but it's unavoidable. Michael Rosenbaum's character is the stew that you have at home.
Yeah, yeah, we've got Stu at home. Exactly. He
Stew at
loves.
home is him slightly aggro, prone to doing a big shout sometimes, or
Yeah,
being a little bit aggressive out of the blue.
yeah,
Um, this is him. This he plays that character in this one.
yeah. And Natalie, I mean, clearly got a bit of a history. She joined the school from somewhere else. Is that right? That kind of what happened. And then she has got like a roommate who's like mega goth, who we've already mentioned, played by Daniel Harris, who's always having sex with her skinny Trent Reznor lookalike boyfriend.
Yeah, and she
In the
always has to
room,
be doing it as your roommate's going to come in. Don't do anything like put a little
everything
notice on the door.
everything Danielle does is terrible, but she treats Natalie as if she's the one doing terrible things. Like, oh, you have to walk in when I'm having sex, loud sex. You're coming, and you still come in the room and go to bed, and we still carry on having sex. That's so annoying. You're so annoying. It's just like,
Some
no,
people just
I've
it's
already
a
rang.
wonder. It's a wonder that she eventually is able to be strangled to death because her neck's fucking brass, isn't it? A fucking right, a
I thought
proper
them
little
bloody.
brass neck.
I thought those goth girls like being strangled. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? No, no, sorry.
No, that I mean that it's that kind of stereotyping that Natalie does that stops her intervening in a murder in a little
It
bit.
is a stereotype, isn't it? Like this film is in the same way that um Eva Mendes as a lesbian being written by a straight man in Urban Legends Final Cut. I feel like a straight man's written this character of Goth. I say straight man, I mean like man who was into uh Rick Astley growing up.
Wheatus,
We
it's
man
your
who was into
Wheatus
Rick.
still.
Man who was into Rick. I like Rick Astley. Man who was into Rick Astley growing up writes goths. What's that? What she listened to? Oh, what like goth music, like slit your wrist music? Like what? Like Rob Zombie,
Robert
Zombie,
Zombie.
9 Inch Nails in your bloody cradle of filth. This is disgusting. Write down likes rough
Right.
sex.
She
Goes
likes
on
rough
a
sex.
chat room.
Doesn't like a goes on the chat room to just pick people up.
What's her diet? Cigarettes and black coffee. 100%. Oh
It's all
yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
has.
All she has. It's like they've gone, oh, Daniel Harris, you may recognize her as a little innocent child. I say innocent child. Obviously, she did go a bit nuts in Halloween movies.
Did
Um,
stab someone up.
you like her as an innocent child, do you? Whoa, yeah, she's a great character. Yeah, imagine her as a gnarly goth who's trawling MySpace looking for sex with other goth men, even if she never seen a photo of them. Don't know what they look like. Could be anyone.
Oh,
What
and
what
also
you
when
into? When she goes, what you into? Well, you could write, I'm into this type
goth
of music.
music.
I'm into this.
Yeah.
Like immediately writes lithium. I'm
I
well
mean,
into lithium. Can't get enough.
good that he's taking care of his mental health potentially, but he is potentially going to get a thyroid problem. Uh,
Yeah, that's
doing
how it
doing
happens.
that, or he's going to be. Turns out he puts lithium, and he's a real pioneer in the electric vehicle sector. Lithium. I own a lithium mine. I'm going to be worth a fortune.
Tell me about this then, Andy. Okay. In 1998, how did a killer who is clearly roaming around a campus manage to communicate with someone via dial-up internet where you'd need like a massive desktop computer? How did they manage to do that on the move and then eventually get into the same room as this girl
So they
and
can
then
leave
kill
a
her?
note saying, "Where are you in your room? Which room are you in
Yep.
yours?" Later on. I imagine the killer a bit like how people who are without any fixed residence have the access to the best dogs that you can get to be with you. Um, Killers have access to probably that same technology in 1997 that Kelly Rowland was using to text with Excel in like 1999.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
she's there with a
She's,
spreadsheet phone.
where are you? I can't believe you're not texting me back. You've opened Excel again, Kelly. Oh, have I? Damn.
So she was doing that. She was doing that texting. It is an
Well,
innocent, more innocent time, isn't it? Because obviously no one can do any texting, and so still haven't got phones. You got to get on the house line.
yeah, well, because yeah, there's even a moment obviously where she picks up the phone and you hear the classic tones of that.
Yeah, dial-up internet.
Yeah. So we've got ahead of ourselves because the Goth being attacked. Tosh Guanari, her name is the Goth, classic Goth name. Um, so yeah, obviously the news of the murder spree comes out, but the dean and the campus police officer tried to bury it. And then we see like Damon Brooks is kind of like he's trying it on a little bit of Natalie. We see them in a lecture earlier that day where they were talking about urban legends with Robert Englund's Professor William Wexler, and he talks about the
Or the
eating
Professor Red Herring.
Professor Red Herring himself. They talk about him about eating pop rocks and drinking soda. Like apparently there's an urban legend that it makes your stomach explode. And then Joshua Jackson does a classic move of pretending to actually die. A few people believe it, you know. They
He's
born
like, call
yesterday.
911.
Call 911. What's happened? Pop rocks. Now it's Mentos and Diet Coke, and they don't do that. Um, so yeah, we're introduced to this character. Kind of weird though, because I thought Joshua Jackson probably one of the most famous people in this film at this point, and he gets killed off fairly quickly, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets mugged off fairly quickly, and in our second urban legend killings you had, the murder in the back seat. We did the Diet Coke and Pop Rocks, but that's just a warm up. Oh, product placement and Pop Rocks, I should say. Eat these Pop Rocks, then have this product placement, hold a can of Pepsi up quite predominantly in front of the screen for quite a while.
Mm.
This drink of refreshing soda, you say? And
Yeah.
then
Oh,
Pacey
bloody
comes
love
up
a
and
bit
is
of
like,
Pepsi.
"Oh, I tell you what, I passed out because my thirst was so quenched that I had to have a little lie down." Um, but
Quenched.
yeah, so he goes to Natalie and goes, "Oh, he, I hear you're a little bit stressed about the murder news and everything. Do you want to come out and talk about it?" They go out for a little ride in the car. And
Mm.
then this is where he puts the radio on and the Dawson's Creek music is on. There's like, "Ugh."
He like shuts it off. Oh, I hate that song. It's so silly, isn't it? It's so
Yeah.
silly. And this is the urban legend that I don't know all that much about this urban legend, but it's where the boyfriend like goes out for a pee, and then the boyfriend gets like hanged from a tree, and where she can hear something on the ceiling, she doesn't realize that it's her
She
boyfriend's
drives off. She thinks it's a
feet.
wrong and trying to get in the car.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is actually a baddie in it. So uh, he goes out for a wee, and then he gets slurped off by persons unknown, a super strong killer.
Mm.
Um, and then, as you say, there's a tapping on the roof, and then Natalie
Tap
sees the
tap.
killer approaching the car. Like the killer forces the situation, right?
Yeah.
Natalie tries to drive away, runs the killer over. You know, no spoilers yet, everybody. We do see the killer several more times, and they aren't limping because they've been literally hit by a car. And in fact, they hop up from being hit by the car and proceed to stomp the windscreen in.
Yeah. Do a kip
I've never
up
been
onto
bashed
the
by a
car.
car, Ben,
Yeah.
but I feel like it took the wind out of my sails.
Yeah. And then of course Natalie managed to start the car, and drive away. But essentially, as she drives away, it pulls,
Hangs
it
old Pacey.
hangs him, and then from that he falls from the tree, lands, his body lands, and then yeah, he's dead. I think she goes for help, but when she comes back, his body and the car have disappeared. So of course, there are so many instances in this of actually, I might be thinking of the second one. Actually, it's very similar in the second one where something happens to main character. Main character flees and runs for help. main characters like not believed by
Yeah.
anyone. It happens a lot in the second one as well, where they're just like, I think so. Reese Wilson, the campus police officer, is a recurring character. Appears in the second one, and she's constantly saying, "You crazy ass white girl," even though she's experienced the everything that happened in urban legend. She's
This
still like
exact
going,
thing.
"What's that? Someone's trying to kill you?" Nah, it's just a lad. I think you've lost your head a little bit.
She's
To be
probably
fair.
thinking the odds of this happening twice.
Yeah. But yeah, so essentially everyone, all of her friends, so like Parker, we haven't even mentioned Brenda Bates actually, so that's basically Natalie's best friend with the curly hair behind you.
Yeah.
Um she basically everyone like assures Natalie that like, oh, Damon's just pranked you. He's just done a
Yeah.
classic hanging prank.
Yeah.
Okay?
And even the crusty old dean's like, I ain't looking for Damon. He's probably
Yeah.
gone away to a motel with a girl or a
Yeah, he says
man
that.
or a
Oh
farm
yeah.
animal.
Yeah, he does say, or with a girl or a man. What's the next logical step in that? Farm animal. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I see what you've done there. You madman. So, and we're going back to the goth girl now because this is where we kind of see her demise. Obviously, her trying to meet somebody, and she's in her room. And then the killer appears and is strangling her to death, and we get a kind of silly moment where Natalie walks in, thinks that she's not actually getting strangled to death, but that she's getting shafted.
And she's given her a bollocking before for coming in while she's having sex.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I'm not taking two bollockins. She puts
No,
her headphones in, and then
doesn't
we've
turn the
talked
light on.
music a bit today, Ben. But I know you're a music man. Um, what's your best drowning out loud sex music that you would put on?
Jesus Christ.
I mean, surely you wouldn't want anything too heavy on because that would remind you of her.
Yeah, you wouldn't. You'd want
That would remind you
something.
of Tosh.
Is there anything that like is just a constant lovely drone? Suno, right? There's a band. I don't even know how to pronounce this band because there's a band called Suno, which is like Sunno, close bracket, close bracket, close bracket, and it's
Okay.
like drony doom metal. So yes, it's heavy, but at the same time, it's very drony. So I imagine it would create a nice wall of sound for me to
To
blur
block
it out.
out Tosh's sex. Although now it's just occurred to me that the only other character I know called Tosh is from the Bill.
Oh, or maybe the ketchup song. I said, hey, ha, hey, heavy to the hip.
Oh, but sometimes the sort of breathy haze and ha's might
Oh
lean
yeah.
into the sex that's happening.
What about the Bill theme? Did it,
Yeah,
did it,
that'd be all right.
because you'd just be thinking about police officers little walking
Police
through.
legs just walking down the street
Yeah,
towards you.
you wouldn't be thinking about someone getting their back blown out.
And it'd probably make you feel safer about there being a murderer in town as well. Be like, that's right, this is reminding me of the police.
I don't know if I could actually get to sleep if I knew someone was having sex in the same room as me. Like, and I'm not talking about like quiet, quiet sort of like secret sex. You know what I mean? Because I think we've probably all been around that at some point
Oh, at
in our
house
lives.
parties when you're
Yeah,
having to pretend to be asleep on a sofa. Like, come
yeah,
on.
like we've all been around that. However, this isn't that. This is like, hey, I and that's her getting killed as well. Remember, it's not her.
So there's a hell in a cell happening next to your
Hey,
bed.
hey, what's going on next to the bed? I don't think you'll be able to sleep. Um,
I
but
think
yeah,
she's already annoyed with you. I think at that point, you wouldn't have been so meek
leave.
and mild. You'd actually go, no, either leave or you'd mug him off.
I'd open the
Like,
door and you'd either go, you go, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I've had enough of this. Stop, I want to go to bed." That's what you'd do. Or
yeah,
you'd go, "I've had enough of this. I'm off. I'm leaving."
do some heckling. Sit at the side of your bed and go, it's boring.
Oh, bloody 8 9 inch nails. They're pathetic.
Put
But
something else
also
on.
if
Put your
she was
busted
having
album on.
if she's having sex with I'm not shaming anyone, I'm not. But she's sleeping with like I'm assuming like a new person a night, for example. Like Natalie must still feel a little bit odd about that, having like a strange person. If it was like a regular boyfriend, for example, that Natalie knew as well, you could understand her going, "I'll just go to sleep." But the fact it's like potentially a stranger in the dorm room every night is a bit odd, isn't it? I'd
Yeah,
say, Tosh, what are you playing at? What are you playing at?
come on.
Um,
And she is in the room with with Tosh from the bill, especially because she's transferred to the college late, right? She has to move out of her
Yeah, yeah.
hometown.
Oh, of course. Tosh from the bill. So
And
yeah,
this
but
is where
so
we get the we mentioned it at the top. So the next day, Nat gets up, she turns the light on, and Tosh is dead, slashed up to mince, but mostly strangled. And someone with excellent penmanship for blood, Natalie must have gone to sleep and fallen asleep quite deeply because at some point the killer has been able to stand over her bed and in Tosh's blood, right? Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? Lovely straight lines. Had to get a ruler for that, I'd say.
a very long sentence as well, right? I'm thinking,
Dear
are
Natalie,
you get to the
dear
point?
Natalie, hope this message in blood finds you well. Um,
Regards, because you'd write,
as you will
aren't you,
notice,
I think you'd write, aren't you glad? And then you'd be like, oh, I've had enough of this now. I'm off.
yeah,
And just
and
leave
you'd be
that.
like, oh, can I get away with just putting the U as the letter U? Yeah, but she
Yeah.
actually writes, Re Tosh's body. As it may have come to your attention, your roommate Tosh has been murdered. I put it to you that had you turned on the light, it would have ended poorly for you.
It would have
Though,
ended
in
poorly for
hindsight,
you.
I imagine you are glad you didn't switch it on. Kind regards, the killer.
Kind regards. And started right. The killer started writing their name and then rubbed it out. The killer.
Strike through. So it is written.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So she basically tells, but I think not long after that it comes out what the
yeah,
history that
before she
Natalie has
tells
had.
the story though, this is where we get the character credited as Bitchy Girl, who,
Oh
as
yeah, of
Tosh's
course. Oh yeah,
absolutely massacred body is taken out of the room, she literally says to the paramedic that's doing it, not a mate, a
yeah,
professional person who is collecting a dead body.
yeah,
This character, Bitchy Girl, that isn't me being rude about her, that is her name per the cast list. He is fucking look like that all the time anyway.
yeah.
Don't know, she's faking
Oh
it.
my god, she definitely deserves a punch. Definitely, despite the fact that Tosh is an angry sex addict. I don't know. Sorry, I'm not shaming anyone for that.
Loves MySpace, cigarettes, shouting.
Shouting and sex with goth fellers. Um, so yeah, basically that happens, and then yeah, basically tells a story about how yes, she did know Michel Mancini, who got decapitated at the start of the film, and the reason she knew her is because she went to a different school with her. That's right, high school. We see some pictures of
Yeah.
them in like cheerleading uniforms and stuff. Uh,
Oh, she pulls out like the yearbook, doesn't she? She's like, ah, yes, the memories.
yes, my best cheerleading memory. And again, this was based on an urban legend where her and Michelle were driving along, and there's the urban legend of that like gang initiation thing where
Yeah.
you flash your lights at somebody, or you drive your headlights turn. No, sorry, you drive your headlights turned off, and whoever flashes you first, you then pursue them and essentially kill them. But what they did was someone flashed at them, they pursued them, and they were like just flashing their lights at them behind them. They caused that person to crash. That person died. So for that reason,
It turned out it was
Natalie,
just a normal, nice man.
it was just a normal, nice feller. And then he was just going, "Oh, put your bloody lights on, come on." So
And it was one
yeah,
of those things, right, where it's like, thankfully, we just got probation. So actually, ultimately, nothing went wrong.
yeah, it was fine. We just got probation. It's absolutely fine. Don't worry
And
about it.
it's in it, you know, it's quite good. Like the police obviously thought it was better not to bother anyone with it and just let them all off. So thankfully, they didn't have to meet any of this. They didn't really. I think they mentioned they knew his name. They said, "Oh, his name was
Mm,
Joe Blogs,"
yeah,
and
they don't have to
and
meet the
but
victim's
thankfully,
family or
they
anything like
didn't
that.
meet any of his family. There was no like victim impact statements at the court case that says, "Really gutted that you killed my son slash boyfriend slash anybody." They didn't
Yeah,
have to face any of the people who they did inconvenience to. They just got given probation and said, "Don't do it again. You're gonna have to
don't
change
ever do
schools."
it again. I won't. So yeah, that happens, and and then I think around about this time, Paul and Natalie are doing a bit of research into urban legends as well, realizing that the killings have been like replicating, the events of urban legends. They go to a library. There's like a book, all the urban legends you have ever needed to know about
And you never guess who the
in
last
this
person who took
book.
it out of the library was.
Who was it?
I think it was what's his chops, Pacey, dead.
Dead.
Yeah, what's his name? We've got hanged.
Oh no, of course. Damon Brooks,
Damon
Joshua
Brooks.
Jackson. So yeah, so now they're not thinking, oh, Damon Brooks has gone and been doing a prank. They're thinking Damon Brooks has gone and been doing a killings. And
Yeah.
part of their plan is to go and investigate William Wexler's office, and the reason is because they discover that he was one of the sole survivor of the Stanley Hall massacre that actually occurred. So like years before at the campus. So
25
they
years
go
this year.
20, so they go and break in to his, and again there's a lot of red herrings around the coat. I mean the fact that the coat and the bloody
He's got a
axe
coat and the exact axe.
and the exact axe, and he's just going, "I'm just using it for chopping up a little bit of wood." All right, chopping up what kind of wood is it? He
Did that
chops the.
keep in my office at work?
It's just an innocent axe slash hatchet slash killer axe, like a
The
key.
the furry hooded parka that exists in this film is the equivalent of, for UK listeners, there's that yellow jacket. I think it's a Joule one that that most that last winter in particular,
Oh right.
almost all women had. So you could
Or
you
like
could
the
say,
dry robe. Have you seen the dry robe?
no, the dry robe,
Might be a Bristol thing, Andy. I'm not
like a
saying
passenger jacket.
it's like I think it was designed for people who like go wild swimming and stuff, but now
Yeah,
mums
they're
like
like passenger
mum
jackets. But they're like you can change in and out your swimming kit underneath it, right?
yeah, I think mums are
Very
like
popular.
wearing them on the school run and stuff in Bristol. I've seen a lot of
Yeah,
them in the
you
supermarket.
get you get a lot of that around here. And the
Now if
same
there
is
was a
true of that yellow jacket. There was a time where you turn around and anyone's got one. That is the same of this Parker at this university. Everyone has it.
well, I turned around to him, and then he turned around to me, and then I turned around to him, and we were just doing circles, both wearing the Parker jacket. Yes, utterly ridiculous that anyone else would have the same coat. Now, that's not the most ridiculous moment. There is an even more ridiculous moment with the coat, which we will get to the point where I was just like, this is madness. It's
Yeah.
literally, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
When Natalie is at the library doing the research on all of the urban legends, that's when Tara Reid is there. Tell you what, Tosh had the internet. She was never off it. Tara Reid does not have the internet because she's in the library going, "Hey, check out what I've got. You never guess what this is.
Oh, yeah.
Got
Got the
got the Kama
latest.
Sutra here.
I've got the latest edition of the bloody Karma Sutra. If
You'll
you
never
open
guess
it,
what. This book is pretty fucking rude,
this
if you ask
book's
me.
filthy, right? This book's utter filth, right? Okay,
Do
have
you
a
want
look at
do you want to
this.
do you want to see some ancient drawings of people copping off in loads of different
Could you
ways?
even get yourself into that position? Because I don't think I could.
Look at
But
this. Yeah.
someone did.
Look at this picture. He's slurping him off and all sorts. Look at this.
Yeah, she's in. We must also mention that Tara Reid's character has got like a radio show where people call in and like
She's
say about their
she's
sex
this
problems and
generation's
love life
Jeremy
problems.
Kyle. They're phoning up late in life.
Nah, better than that. Better than that. She is this generation's. What was the name of the? I
Deirdre.
forgot it. Dear Deirdre. She's this generation's Dear Deirdre. Um, and someone calls up at one point going, "We're trying to have a new sex position, do a new sex position, and we're both stuck." Now, if you
Yeah.
got into a position where you got stuck having sex, and your sexual partner said, "I'm just going to ring up Tara Reid at the radio station and see what she's got to say about this," you'd say absolutely, categorically, no.
No. Phone the police.
Anything else?
Phone
My
ambulance.
phone my dad. Please.
Not
I
Tara
implore you.
Reid.
Not Tara Reid at the bloody
Not
uh
Tara Reid on a live radio show, if you
no.
could. I think even the person on the call says it's like dogs getting stuck together.
Oh, I don't even want to think of the logistics of that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
what happens
Tara
is
Reid has got the book and she goes, "Oh, tell you what, take this back to Michael Rosenbaum. We're gonna work our way through this
yeah.
all the way from A to Z, A for ass, right through to
Zebra.
the
A
zebra
for
move.
The zebra move. So what? We get some more killings now. So the dean gets killed by like the ankle slicing thing.
Oh, yeah. So the
That's
dean
their.
has basically said moments before. Oh,
Hmm.
first they get a bollocking. So they go into Wexler's office
Oh yeah, of
and
course.
they get busted and basically go, there's like a meeting in the office where the dean goes, "Fuck you doing breaking into Wexler's office? He's clearly the murderer. Look at all this orgy of evidence that he's the murderer." And he goes, "No, the axe is for chopping wood. The coat is for wearing a coat.
The coat is for wearing a coat.
The
Oh,
coat
just wear
is
a
for
coat.
wearing."
This is a coat's for wearing a coat. This is.
Is that illegal, officer? Am I not allowed to wear a coat?
Can I not chop some wood? We're wearing the same wearing a coat. Can I not do
I
that?
mean,
That's...
to be fair, to him, we're only suspicious because he is the actor that plays Freddy Krueger. I think if you lived in a place where you had an open fire, that'd be just the coat to wear to go and chop your wood. It was
Yeah.
cold. It's obviously the winter. It's gonna. What else would you need firewood?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
he's perfectly within his rights to have this thing. So the dean gives them a bollocking and basically says, "You, Natalie, are on your last warning, and you, Paul, old Jared Leto, you off the newspaper." He goes, "Actually, you're not allowed. The dean's not allowed to make editorial decisions. I'm not off the paper, actually." He goes, "Oh yeah, but fucking hell. By the way, news bulletin for you, mate. This is from the editor. You're busted." And he's like, "Oh, for
You're
fuck's
busted.
sake!"
He's
And
absolutely
he's losing
raging.
his mind, saying like, uh, I'm never going to be qualified as I'm never going to make it as a journalist if I don't have a body of writing." We learn later on there's about 2 weeks left of term. If you haven't made a body of
Oh
writing now,
yeah.
3 years on the paper.
Come on now.
So after
Very
that,
silly.
the crusty old dean basically talks to the police officer, or like the campus security
Uh,
lady, and says,
half asleep.
"No extra police, all right? Don't." And in fact,
Absolutely none.
no extra security. And I've taken a liberty of phoning ahead to warn the police that a couple of students, namely Natalie and Paul, might phone and try and report murders. You should ignore them.
Jesus. In fact, you're being a campus police. I'm going to tell you to work to 50% of your capacity. Don't
Yeah.
even try.
Go and whack some of your films on. Watch
Go and
them.
whack some of your films on, your Pam Grier films, and enjoy your
And
lovely
literally
stuff.
wave a gun about in your office, pretending that
Wave a
you're
gun
going to
about in
shoot
your office.
people.
There's a bit in the sequel where like she's supposed to have been watching the CCTV, and someone walks in and she's like got all the same film on all the CCTV things, and she's like, doing a bit, and they just go, "Were you watching the CCTV then?" And she goes like, "No," and they go, "What's wrong with you?
I'm
What's
being
wrong
Pam
with you?"
Grier, will you? You
I'm
piss
very
off.
tired. And she speaks a bit like that's Michael Jackson. Sorry. She just sounds ever so sleepy all the time. Like she's just woken up. Like she just gone, "Give me a minute. I've just woken up."
Yeah, so she's like been distinctly told not to do that, but then we get the old classic urban legend of that bit out of Pet Cemetery where someone's actually under his car. He has a little glance. He's not immune from being a bit urban legend scared as well. He has a little glance in the back seat. He goes, "Oh, no one
He's
there.
not a
Thank goodness.
monster.
I can relax."
Mm,
And then he gets his ankles done. And then
yeah.
the killer, he has a real Prometheus situation, right? Where he doesn't try and roll away or escape. He just crawls backwards as his own car runs towards him. What happens to him then, Ben?
He gets impaled on those spiky bits.
He
Whatever
gets
they are.
him. He gets himself pierced on a
Pierced
spike.
on, he gets himself pierced on multiple spikes.
Yeah,
Dead. Crusty
he
old
just
Dean is
dead,
bloodied. And I think
pierced.
a little while after that, the Reese, who was the campus police officer, finds William Wexler's office like disorganized and covered in blood. So like,
She
oh my god.
stacks it in the blood, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, she slips in the blood, gutted. Um, and then we get like a frat party in the middle of this, which coincides with the massacre's 25th anniversary, as you do. Um, during which, obviously, the killer's there, but there's a bit where Natalie and Paul like have a little bit of a kiss, which Brenda sees, and she's got a bit of a thing for Paul. She mentioned it previously, but Natalie hasn't gone for bros before hoes. She has gone straight to
She's not
the
got sisters before misters. She's straight away copped off with Paul.
yeah.
After
Brenda was getting her a drink as well.
Yeah, well, Brenda was getting her a drink, and also this is after she's confided in the murder, the previous running a guy off the road to Brenda.
Mm.
And I don't want to skip over this, Ben, because this was after the most egregious coat use that really wound you up as well, right? This is after they've been told off by
Oh
the
God,
dean.
yeah. My God. Is that after? Yeah, so
It's
the coat
it
use
tell
is
yeah, she tells her about the running the guy off the road after she's done that bit.
so the she's swimming, isn't she, Brenda? Brenda's swimming,
Yeah.
going back and forth, doing some great swimming, doing some great breaststroke, doing some great front crawl. Natalie is viewing the pool from atop a sort of like viewing platform with glass. And then suddenly, someone dressed exactly like the killer is walking in. Someone in a parka. Someone who clearly is going to kill Brenda in the pool.
In the middle of a
Walking
swim.
closer. In the middle of a swim, in the middle of the day. Natalie's shouting, shouting, shouting. And then as he gets closer and closer, he goes, I'm just going to smash this window because I'm absolutely raging. Smashes the window to try and get the attention of anyone to save Brenda. And it turns out it's just another swimmer, another young lady swimmer who's
Who's
turned
got
up for
entirely into a swim kit,
who's got
and
entirely into a swim kit and then put this parka coat on. I don't care
including the
what you
hood.
say. There ain't no one in the world who's doing this, let alone when there's a killer on the loose.
I tell
This
you
is
what, I
the
could forgive
worst
if it was an
case.
outdoor swimming pool,
Yes.
but
And
it's
even
not.
then,
It's
it is
indoors.
absolutely ridiculous. It's like somebody walking in dressed as Ghostface and then I don't know, just like taking it off like it. Oh, sorry. Well, actually, that would make sense in Scream because that
People,
exists.
yeah,
It is it is a red herring. It is a
it'd be a
piss
bit like
poor.
someone just be doing some trick or treating in a complete Michael Myers outfit, and then the police hammering them into a wall in a
Gonna
car that immediately explodes.
explodes. Where are you going? I'm off trick or treating. That's a weird outfit you got on, isn't it? Well, the thing is, I didn't really have an outfit, so I found this old William Shatner mask, which is spray painted white, and I've also got just my old mechanics overalls on because I didn't have a chance to get changed. I've been working on a car. This causing me a right load of grief. Don't
I'm gonna
worry,
pretend I'm gonna pretend I'm Captain Kirk. That's a mechanic. That's mad.
I'm off for a lovely stroll, and I'm going to do a bit trick or treating as well. And as I'm doing it, you're like, "Oh, what's going on here?" Boom, back, boom, dad, dead. How did he die? He died doing what he loved, just
Walking.
walking, which was happening to be dressed exactly like a serial killer.
He died
Same
doing
night,
what he loved, minding his own business.
minding his own fucking business. That doesn't get talked about enough. That that mad moment doesn't get talked about, but it
Yeah.
is on a par with that easily.
Only this tops it, I think. Yeah, just don't. She smashes the window. So already having moments earlier been given a last warning by the dean, trashes a window. But this is the point where she confides in Brenda what's gone on, and then flash forward to where we just were at the party. Brenda, a good mate, has decided to go get her a drink. I thought she was getting this drink dumped on her when she comes back in, and Natalie's
Mm,
macking on with Paul.
yeah. Oh, Paulie the journalist. Yeah. So obviously Brenda's upset, goes out to the front of the house crying, as you would, and then
Just runs
meanwhile,
away sobbing like proper like cinema.
while this happened, I mean, to be honest, and again, this is a minor spoiler, but if Brenda hated Natalie already for anything that might have happened in the past, can you imagine now if you? I'm actually growing to like her. I don't know if I want to go through with it because I'm growing to like her. She's become a true friend to me, and maybe this whole revenge plot, I'll just kill some people, but I'll leave her out of it. She's absolutely stitched me up again, hasn't she? That's
Yeah,
it.
she's like,
You are
maybe
getting it.
maybe I'll leave it at that. Actually, I've killed Tosh for being rude. I've killed the woman who was ultimately driving the car for something we'll
Yep.
reveal in a minute. But I've killed Pacey for being a big frosted tips dickhead.
Yep.
Um, what are we? And then yeah, she mugs her off on this one. Still
Yeah.
gives her a beer. That goes, it's light beer, just so you know.
It's like beer.
Uh,
And sort of like alongside this, Parker gets got as well. So someone calls up, and it makes it look like the call's coming from within the house. Another famous urban legend, which was discussed by Professor William Wexler earlier on, so we're aware of it. And then the person on the other line says, "Actually, This isn't the urban legend about that. It's the urban legend about the old lady who dried her dog in the microwave. I don't know about you, Andy. Would that dog fit in the microwave?
I don't think a dog is very easy to put in a microwave. I think they would probably have something to say about it.
Yeah, probably dead already, wouldn't it? But
Um, and
that dog was
also,
being force fed alcohol previously.
yeah, that dog was being boozed up. So it's only the second bit of abuse that that dog has had that day.
Yeah,
Um,
not on really,
but
is it?
also, of all the horrible murders you're doing, but the dog deserves it. The dog has probably deserved it least of all.
Yeah, leave the dog out of it. So obviously Parker discovers the dog mutilated, smushed in the microwave, runs to the
Absolutely
toilet to
exploded to ribbons. Runs up to the toilet to be sick because obviously that would make you feel a bit poorly. Um, and unfortunately for
I
him,
think gets
a
like
little
knocked
twist on
out.
the urban legend.
Hmm.
Yeah, he gets himself knocked out, wakes up tied up to the toilet, and then a slight twist on a prank, an urban legend we saw earlier.
Yeah.
What we've learned is Pop Rocks and Pepsi Max won't kill you, but Pop Rocks and Drain Cleaner. Not entirely sure it's
Yeah.
the combination that's the problem there.
No.
Um,
Pop rocks are there just for a laugh.
yeah, just for the artistry of it. Yeah, he gets Drain Cleaner, doesn't he? He gets Mr. Muscled.
He
Loves the
gets
jobs he
Mr.
hate,
Muscled.
killing this guy.
Mr. Muscle to death. And now Parker's dead, yes. Um, and then pretty quickly after that, uh oh yeah, so Sasha, who was at the party, that's Tara Reid. She goes, I've been at this party having a whale of a time, but now I've got to go and do my late night talk show at the campus
I'm on the
radio
radio,
station.
actually.
I'm on
Yeah, I
the
didn't
radio.
mention this.
So she goes there, and obviously the killer must follow her there in some way as well.
Immediately.
Attacks immediately. Yeah, must have been in the back of the car, right? Attacks her assistant, kills her assistant, and then like chases Tara Reid through the build. What kind of building is it? Is it just like a school? What
Yeah,
like
it's like radio station slash leisure center.
yeah, because it is like it's got those sort of like clear like glass
Big glass
staircase.
stairs. And there's
Yeah.
several bits in this bit. I found myself a little bit frustrated with the because you see her sort of hanging down and it feels like yeah, it wouldn't be nice to jump down there, but you'd probably be fine. But then when
It
she
didn't look
is
that far at all.
it didn't look that
Yeah.
far. And then when the axe gets swung at her and she drops, but she somehow drops onto the stairs.
Onto
So
the
she's being chased through a fucking Escher painting. Like she falls
yeah.
and she's still on the stairs and then runs down to a lift and gets in the lift, but chooses to go up like one floor. That'll get him.
Yeah. That'd get him. And all this time, is she dressed like what's her name from Chucky? Bride of Chucky?
Tiffany.
Tiffany. She's dressed like Tiffany, right? Because it is a costume party
Is it a
at the
costume
fraternity.
party?
But like every 1 in 10 people have got a costume on. But she's got like a studded collar, the leather jacket, the sort of like white top. She's got like quite dark makeup on. Tiffany all day long, unless it's
So
preceded. This
she's
didn't
playing
precede.
she's playing Tiffany from contemporary film of the time. And it makes sense though, bearing in mind that Chucky himself is in the film.
Yeah, that's true. It does.
So Urban Legend is 98. Bride of Chucky is earlier or later, Ben. A little impromptu quiz for you. Is Bride of Chucky before or after 1998?
I'd say before. Before?
Same year.
Same year. Well, I'm just looking here, and there was a tweet where Tara Reid did a Q&A, and somebody asked her, "Were you dressed as Tiffany from Bride of Chucky in Urban Legend?" Um, but there's a lot. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of stuff where people say she is. There's like a few
Maybe they're filming
images.
it at roughly the same time. Maybe there's some crossover. So obviously we know the voice of Chucky himself, Brad Dourif, is in the film. So
Yeah,
maybe he said,
interesting.
"Yeah, let me choose your outfit for you. It'd be funny," and he chooses that.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, eventually. So obviously, while this is happening, her screams of terror are being fed into the party
Because
because
she has a little mic on, doesn't she? She's mic'd up.
yeah, why is she mic'd up like Madonna? So every time she's running,
Unfortunately, unfortunately though, no one pays attention to it because of a single bore at the party.
Oh
It
yeah,
was like come up to her before and go, "Do you know that in Roller Coaster of Love by Red Hot Chili Peppers, that is actually the scream from the
from actual
911
scream.
call?" But somehow her disinterest in that story, even though she's not there anymore, has translated to the rest
Translated
of
to
the
everyone
party. It's
else.
like,
Yeah,
no, she's just doing a bit of performance art, not being murdered in this town where several
that's what
people have been
happens though.
suspected of
That's what
murdered.
happens when you're that much of a bore. It feeds on everybody else. So yeah, what actually happens to she gets? Oh yeah, she gets eventually. So Natalie goes there to try and save her, and then she's too late, and she looks up into like the booth where it's being recorded, and she sees the moment where Tiffany's getting axed.
Gets
Not
hacked
Tiffany,
to bits off
not
screen.
Tiffany. Sasha, not Tiffany from Bride of Chucky. Axed to death off screen, and then there's a moment where where the killer does a little wave at Natalie. Natalie screams. Um, yeah, she witnesses it. So yeah, I think
Paul turns up.
Paul
So
turns up.
does
Yeah, so does Brenda. I think they all turn up. Oh, we thought she, and then I think at this point they're like, it's definitely Wexler because he's gone missing and there was blood all over his place. So they drive. Then they stop at a gas station. But while Paul is inside, Natalie and Brenda hear like a phone ringing. Is that right? Is
yeah.
it a phone ringing? And then they find Wexler's body in the trunk. So obviously they
Wheat us by teenage dirtbag is like, who says that? It's Wexler.
they immediately realize that, well, they immediately think Paul's the killer. And do you know what they do? Just run through the woods.
Don't take
And
his car. Don't go into the
don't take his
garage that's
car.
well lit with loads of people.
Paul runs after them, but if you notice, Paul's while he's running after them, he's only shouting Natalie. Like Brenda's the ultimate third wheel in this situation. And she likes him as well. So they become separated, and this is when Natalie managed to flag down the a car, and it's the university janitor who we've already seen a couple of times, being creepy and spooky, and they also got a bit of information out of him at one point, didn't they?
He
Um,
suggested they talk to Wexler because he
yeah,
was there for the murders.
yeah.
But unfortunately, what really throws Natalie out is that you'll never guess what coat the janitor's got.
Hanging up in the back as well, like his brand new dry cleaning.
And like he's trying to be nice. Oh, you cold because you've been running through a forest and you've abandoned your friend who you see fall over as you ran as well. And he's like, got a coat there if you want to put it over you. And she's like, fucking hell. And she's like trying to
Not
get
the
the car out.
car.
And she's trying to smash her way out of the car. And he goes, will you fucking stop it? I've just picked you up. And
Yeah.
then
The car
immediately
don't open from the inside. You silly person.
got the child locks on. Um, so that happens, and then before you know it, she immediately turns around on him, and he's not the baddie anymore. As soon as she sees someone driving towards them with the lights off, and the guy goes, "Fuck's sake!" He flashes the lights, and then before you know it, they're
Stupid
chasing it,
kids.
and she chases them um along the road. I feel like he is driving like a flatbed pickup, and the car that's chasing them is like a Ford Cortina, like a sensible estate car. It's
Yeah,
like,
and he gets
how is
rammed off
that
the
running you
road.
off the road?
And did you like his reaction as it got run off the road?
What?
He just,
Oh no!
oh, literally just like he was controlling it all right for a while, and then when he realized he was out of control, he just went shit. No, he didn't say shit, but he said that.
Do you
The
imagine that
crash
he's okay and he wakes up in a bit, or do you reckon he's just dead?
says here dead. The crash kills the janitor, but Natalie leaves unscathed and flees on foot. Um, So she passes Stanley Hall, where obviously the massacre happened. Hears Brenda screams from inside, goes inside, and then it's like a house of horrors where she discovers her friends' corpses one by one, along with the dean who's dead,
The
obviously,
crusty old Dean.
Christy old dean, and then we see apparently a dead Brenda lying on the bed.
She's
Um,
doing the best, like, oh, I'm knocked out.
oh, I'm dead. But then while Natalie's looking away, we see in the background Brenda sit up slowly
But she's
with a
got
little.
a baddie eyes on her now, hasn't she? She's like,
She's got the evil face, and she knocks Natalie out. And when
she
Natalie
fucking sucker
awakens,
punches her.
yeah,
Like,
it's
she,
like
like, Brenda has put a lot into this film, hoping that people are
ah,
going to behave in exactly the way that she expects them to. Like, take
yeah,
someone out to a makeout point, not look in the back of their car, slowly back slowly backpedal on your back until you get crushed by a spike. she's really relied on his behavior, and she puts a lot of weight, probably the most faith in the entire film, that she's going to be able to Bruce Lee 1 inch punch knock out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then when she wakes up, we get Brenda. She gets to do her villain monologue, her big exposition dump to explain that yes, she is the killer, and she's been enacting revenge for her fiance and high school sweetheart David, who was the man that Natalie and her friend Michelle ran off the road in the sort of gang initiation flashing lights thing. Um,
All those years ago.
all those years
Which
ago. Now,
begs the
how
question:
often?
how old is Brenda?
Yeah, that's true. Well, it can't have been that many years ago, right? Because if she's like high school and now we're
She's,
in like
she's gone through,
university,
but it's still a couple of years. It would maybe
couple of
put her
years.
slightly out of
How
sync.
many
How do you just
times has this happened,
enroll in a
right? So,
college?
how many times has this happened in a horror movie or a movie? Somebody like enrolls in a college or a school or somewhere and becomes part of a friend group in order
Yeah,
to exact revenge on that friend group. I know we've like kind of had it in Valentine. And it's been, I know it's been in other stuff before. Like that is really playing the long game, isn't it? Like
yeah,
the fact that you would be bothered. Like if you want exact revenge, I imagine you don't want to be associated with these people at all. You just want to kill them.
yeah,
Is it like, oh, it's the long game? I want to befriend them and then kill them when their guard is down. That seems a bit mad.
yeah. Just I don't know, tamper with the brakes or something.
Yeah, you're not giving advice. You just, it's possible. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, but then she basically says, again, another urban legend about like waking up in a bath of ice with a kidney removed. She says you're gonna remove her kidney.
I tell you, this is one of my favorite bits of the film from a filmmaking point of view, because Brenda doesn't fuck about with that scalpel, does she? She's like stab.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, she doesn't seem to
She's
fuck about
straight.
at all, no.
She's straight into it and he goes, "I'll tell you what, I'm a shit doctor, so I'm just going to take out the first organ I find."
Yeah, but then Reese arrives, and she holds Brenda at gunpoint. But then while she turns Brenda around, Brenda pulls out a switchblade, turns around and slices her. But then Paul turns up, and Paul starts to do a stupid,
Does
like
some
when he
method
started
acting, doesn't he?
does actually, me and you could run away together, Brenda. I'm actually really impressed by all the murders you've done, and
Oh,
I'll be the journalist, and I'll write about everything that happened, but I'll lie and say it was all these people. I'll win the Pulitzer Prize, and then you will be like super scary murder lady, but on my arm, and we'll be together forever.
now just give
And
us. I think this is where he really fucks it. He's like, "Yeah, I can be a piece of shit because you know what? I can buy that Paul here is a piece of shit." Not saying that that's the character
yeah,
that I associate with the actor. Not at all. I wouldn't suggest that, Ben. Pundits and wags might, but not me.
yeah.
Um, real piece of fucking work he is. Um, and then he sort of gives it away by going, "How about give me the gun?
But just give me the gun first, please." And then she does say, "You're
You want to
cute.
let her keep the gun until you're
You're
literally on
cute."
holiday, away on holiday, and then just say, yeah, police."
Yeah. But she goes, "You're cute, but you're not that cute." So she like gains control. Wait, what? She's got the gun. She shoots.
The only problem is what she didn't expect was that Reese would have a second gun.
Oh yeah. Reese is loving it. Reese has got like guns for days.
Yeah, she's loving
Um,
each day as if it's the last,
but
and
then
she
that,
dances on it as a fucking blast at Brenda, fucking blasts her several times with bullets out the window.
yeah. So but it says Natalie gains control of the gun and
Oh,
shoots Brenda.
Natalie.
I think she does.
Yeah, so like Brenda,
I think
Brenda
Brenda
gets
shoots
shot
her.
once by Reese, and
Yeah,
then Natalie gains the gun and goes, "Oh, Natalie, you wouldn't shoot me." She wouldn't have got even that far when they would have shot her all the times.
yeah. Flies
But
out the
she
window.
shoots her out of the obviously the piece of a house which is named after the first person ever to fall out of one, Mace Windu. She falls out the window
She falls out
and
the
is
window, purple lightsaber and all.
and is and she Michael Myers is it right out the window, and we can only assume that she's dead on the floor. There is no need to look.
Oh, what? But they do put her in the back of the car and go to take
Oh, I
her.
assume that she just got in. Did they put her in the
Oh
back of the
yeah,
car?
good question. Actually, I don't actually know. I don't actually know. Now you say it.
My
But
assumption
yeah,
was they went, well, she's dead, so let's just go to town.
drop.
What I think is that probably the biggest dickhead move in this entire film, more so than running a fiance off the road, more so than
Yeah.
not putting up with Tosh's weird sex life and not seeing that she was okay. The worst thing of all, that Reese has been shot, and they just stabbed and shot, I think, at this point, and they go, "Someone's coming to help. We will not stay with you, though. Goodbye. We've got to drive to
Someone's coming
town."
to help. We're actually famished, so we're off for a Subway. See you in a bit.
Oh,
All the
it
best.
closes at 10. Come on.
Yeah.
So they're on the
Um.
road. They've left Reese bleeding out in the abandoned house full of rats.
Oh
Um,
God. Yeah.
and Brenda's in the back of the car. She gets up and she has also snuck an axe into the car and is trying to get
Classic
him.
axe.
And they go to the most perilous bridge in the world.
Oh
That
yeah, the
seems like
perilous
it's about
bridge.
half a lane wide.
Yeah. So she's attacking. They kind of talk about, well, if this is urban legend, where's the twist? And that's when she leaps out. But Paul manages to crash the car on the bridge, and that's when Brenda goes flying through the windshield into the river below. But if anyone falls into water in any horror film, there's absolutely 0% chance that they're dead. Um, and then we get like a silly sort of final scene, which it's kind of silly.
Yeah,
How
they kind of
old
like
was this
someone's
guy?
telling the
How old was
story.
this guy telling the story?
I would
40?
say older than me.
Yeah,
Older than
yeah,
me now.
yeah. So this guy's telling a story like, "Oh, that was my story of the killers," and everyone's like, "No way, I don't believe you." But then someone, a young lady with curly hair and like a sort of silk scarf around their neck, goes, "Actually, I believe you, but you told it incorrectly. This is how the story really goes." Now, if I'd sat through a whole story being told by that
Correct him
lad,
during the film.
yeah, if I'd sat through that whole story and then someone went, "You know what? I'm gonna actually tell you the real story," I'd go, "I'm off. See you later, guys.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
I got places to be. I got a goth girl called Tosh who wants to meet me. See you
Yeah,
later."
she's asking me where I am, so I've got to. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I gotta get there.
if you must go through this, Brenda, could you just tell us? Can you just tell us a couple of bullet points? Which bits were different?
That would be good. I'd like
Yeah,
that. Thank you,
I am
Brenda. But
interested in that, but I don't need to start from the beginning again.
no, please
I go,
don't.
actually, she was
Start from the
listening to
very
Bonnie
beginning.
Tyler's "Holding Out for a Hero," uh,
And that
not
changes
Total
the
Eclipse
vibe
of the Heart.
completely. There we go then.
Meatloaf.
A little bit of meatloaf. Um, in terms of trivia, so I thought just a little bit of this.
What bit of
So
trivia?
Daniel Harris was a smoker at the time and thrilled to be allowed to smoke while working. She quickly realized that shooting scenes while smoking meant that she was going to have to smoke cigarettes for hours all day. She eventually got sick of it and quit smoking.
Ah, silver lining, isn't it?
Silver lining. Apparently, Sarah Michelle Gellar accepted the role of Sasha, aka Tara Reid, but had to back out due to schedule conflicts with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm
Okay.
assuming she'd already been in. I know we did last
Can you
summer.
imagine that? If that had been true, if she'd have taken that, she'd have been in all of them. She'd have been in Scream. She'd have been in
Yeah.
I Know What You Did Last
Oh
Summer,
yeah. Scream
and
too.
she'd have been in
Wow.
Urban Legend. All three.
Collecting the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
Um, the killer's outfit is based on the fact that the film was originally supposed to be set in the middle of winter. Um, but yeah, those aspects of the storyline were dropped when the weather was too warm, and they dressed all the actors in winter outfits, but they kept the killer's costume. Oh right, they didn't do like fake snow in the outdoor scenes. I don't know. I didn't read that sentence right. Something about that.
It was
Uh,
meant to be cold and snowy, which would explain why everyone has a big woolly coat on
yeah, that's
and would
true.
have made it
Okay,
less jarring.
made it
Still would
way
have been
less
no
jarring.
reason to wear it inside, though.
Have you got any name game?
Yeah, go on. I can
All right,
manage a couple. These are off the top of the dome, Ben. But
not easy this one, is it?
what's the synopsis?
College student suspects a series of bizarre deaths are now connected to certain urban legends.
Okay. Number one, college students suspect a series of deaths are actually all related to people just getting fucked up on American whiskey.
Bourbon legend.
Bourbon legend.
Nice. Okay. A college student suspects a series of bizarre deaths are connected to Judge Dredd.
Carl Urban legend.
Carl Urban legend. Correct.
Um, number three, college students suspect the deaths are um, all series of deaths are all related to a sort of chocolate sandwich biscuit that someone's pronounced wrong because they've misread it.
Chocolate sandwich biscuit. Bourbon legend.
Bourbon Legends, they've read it wrong, though they've said bourbon again.
They said bourbon again. Bourbon legend. Okay. A college student suspects a series of bizarre deaths are connected to a certain high street clothing and apparel shop.
Urban Outfitter Legend.
Urban Outfitters legend. Correct.
Um, a college students feel that there is a set of murders, and it's related just to not all of it, but the very extremity of some sort of topiary that's going on in the garden
Oh God.
in,
Some
in a
sort of
in a city environment.
urban hedge and
Urban hedge end, yeah.
urban hedge end. It's the bloody thing. Uh, as college students suspect a series of bizarre deaths are connected to certain famous people from this country. Uh, Ludwig van Beethoven, Johann Sebastian Bach, Karl Marx, uh,
I was
Oliver
with you until Karl Marx came up.
Oliver Kahn, uh,
Oh, German legend.
German legend, yeah. Angela, what's her name? I was going back to that was what
Merkel.
I was going for now. Angela Merkel, yeah. Sorry, I searched famous German people, and I can only think of footballers, so that was my fault. Um, any more?
No, I reckon that's
That's
about me
got to
done,
be
I
it.
reckon.
That's a pretty good showing. Okay, rating. Okay, very, very briefly, I will mention Urban Legends Final Cut and
Oh
Urban
yeah, we didn't even
Legends.
touch those.
No, because very sorry, neither of them are really any good. Final Cut's it's kind of a bit. It takes place during the making of a film, so it kind of feels like Scream 3 a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Um, just it's not that interesting a story. The reveal isn't that great. There's kind of like a weird thing where like a certain character dies and then his twin brother turns up, but everyone goes, "I thought you were dead," and
The
their
same
names
actor, or
are
is it? Oh, they are actually our twins.
it's the same actor. And the dead one is Travis, and the new one is Trevor. It's baffling. The killer kind of wears like a fencing mask, which is kind
Okay,
of
I've seen that from the thing. Yeah.
interesting. But I yeah, in terms of the fact that they go, oh, urban legends. I don't even know if it was connected to urban legends. So I couldn't even think about it. It was just pretty naff. And urban legends, Bloody Mary has got more of a supernatural twist, um, which again is slightly I want to say slightly more interesting in terms of its premise than the one before, but in its execution, unfortunately, it's just incredibly bland, like all the way
So
through.
unfortunately, it is no Prom Night 2. Hello, Mary Lou.
It's absolutely not. Absolutely
Have you
not.
seen that yet? We need to do an
No, I
episode on
haven't.
that bad boy.
I haven't. That's on the list. That's on the list. Um, it just doesn't feel like Urban Legends. It just feels like any other film with like a supernatural um antagonist. You know what I mean? It's just like, why is this an Urban Legends film?
I
I
guess
guess
that
I
thing though, like what other urban legends would you have to lean into? Because I know that all these urban legends there. Have you got any urban legends that you feel you'd love to see in this series that weren't touched
what's
upon?
that? What's the hairy hand one? Is that an urban legend or is that more of like a supernatural
It's like a
legend?
countryside legend, isn't it? That's like if you're
Countryside
driving
legend,
through
yeah.
Dartmoor, then a hairy hand, which is a
I'm
ghost
confused
hairy
though,
hand,
because it
everybody.
seems like on the list of urban legends that I've got here, a lot of them do seem to be like quite supernatural and almost like there's Cropsey there, which obviously we've discussed
Cropsey.
in the Burning. We've obviously already done Enfield Poltergeist, which we've obviously already discussed actually we haven't done an episode on Conjuring 2, but we've definitely mentioned it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the
I
best
can't
one. We
really
should go back and do that.
Yeah, I can't really think of any like a lot of them seem like folklore things. I always think of it, urban legends as like stuff that's rooted in reality that isn't necessarily
Or a bit like
a
in this one that like everyone thinks that like they know a kid that happened to at school. So
yeah.
like the plot of the Crash Test Dummies
Right,
song.
okay, okay.
Yeah, once there was a kid who wouldn't get changed with the girls in the change room. When they finally made her, they saw birthmarks over her body, couldn't explain it, they'd always just been there. That bit.
Yeah. The Mothman.
The Mothman, yeah.
Again, is that an urban legend? I feel like all this stuff
Is that a
really like
cryptid?
listed here. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a cryptid and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like for me,
Um,
the urban legend was when we were growing up, and I think this is probably a very Tamworth too niche one, that around the estate there was a man, right? And he was a classic stranger danger, Ben. And he'd approach you as a child and he'd offer you some jelly babies from his bag of jelly babies, right?
oh
But
yeah.
if you're gonna, if that happens, the lesson we had was that you mustn't take a red jelly baby because those are the ones that were full of poison and date rape drugs. I don't know why
Oh,
you would the advice to us as children wouldn't have just been just fucking don't take any of them. But no,
don't
it's
take any
like
now.
not the red one, thanks.
Because he might hear about
Um,
that and go, I'm just going to change which one I put the poison in.
yeah, maybe you can't though. He's bound. It's like any sort of slasher or horror monster. He's bound by a certain
Bound
set of
by
rules.
bound by his MO. I can't really think of any. Maybe someone come to me. I think a lot of the ones were kind of like um cryptid stuff and
Yeah, are there any like
you know
local things that like it's almost like I guess maybe we don't have so many urban legends because from a country that has lots of older
our
history, maybe, and
our
like
urban
like
leg
old ghost stories.
our urban legends just now conspiracy theories. Hang on a
Yeah,
minute. Did you hear that they've got access to cryogenic freezing chamber, and they're actually hundreds of years old. Oh yeah. What about the Rat Man of Southend?
the Rat
An
Man.
old homeless man seeking shelter from cold and underpass, set upon by a group of youths, nearly beaten to near death. But as he died, the numerous vermin who inhabit the area gathered and were found to have devoured his face. And now there's a ghostly figure that walks around. People hear
Oh,
rat like squealing, and he's got no bloody face.
that was sad. I thought it was going to be the rats all gathered around, and he used to share
Turned him
with
into
them his food, and
Super
he
Rat Man.
saved the day.
Are urban
Um,
legends things like Paul McCartney's dead and
yeah,
Avril Lavigne is a clone and various
for
things like
Levine's
that?
a clone. I haven't heard that one. Tell me later.
Haven't you? Oh my god, yeah, it's supposed to be that. Okay, got to rate the film. I'm I'm just jumping on in there. I think I'm gonna go for a straight up C. The
Yeah,
reason being, I think having watched some other slashers, I think alongside things like Scream, and I know what you did last summer, and even like the likes of Valentine and things like that, it's not got that many memorable moments. Like there aren't that many like memorable kills or um anything that kind of sets it apart too much. I know you've got someone in the back seat, and that is creepy and that is quite intense and effective. Yes, but that's the opening scene. I think everything else that follows it is kind of not great. I like the fact that Rebecca Gayheart is the killer, but I don't know if I'm as invested in the revenge plot and everything. It kind of felt a bit like I thought as soon as we start, I mean I know I've seen it before, but as soon as we start introducing this history of Natalie, I was like the killer is obviously going to be someone related to that person, whether
yeah.
it's a family member or whatever. It's clearly going to be that. And it was, you know what I mean? So there wasn't really anything too surprising. And I think everybody in terms of their roles is kind of a bit one note. I think Alicia Witt is good as Natalie. But like Jared Leto, Tara Reid, even Michael Rosenbaum and Joshua Jackson to a degree, everyone's a bit one note. And in a film where you've got Robert Englund and Brad Dourif and people like that, like even their roles aren't. I know the Brad Dourif one's memorable.
You don't make the most of your greatest horror character actors in this film, right?
Yeah, you don't. So it is a bit disappointing like that. But as a sort of an idea for like a killer's MO, it's good. But it's also difficult because I feel like I some things appear in this where they're not outright known as like urban legends, especially in the sequels. There's a couple of weird bits where like someone has a bite on their face from a spider and loads of spiders come out. And
Isn't
just
that
looking at this list here, like that is an urban legend.
not scary
Um,
stories to tell in the dark?
yeah, it does sound like that, doesn't it? But
The slithery D all over
in
again.
the context of the film, I'm like, what the hell's happening? Is
Yeah.
this real or is she like? And they're like, oh yeah, she took some acid, I think, and just went mad. Oh right. So
Okay.
yeah, just a C for me, I think.
Oh, Ben, you've reminded me of an urban legend. What about the the urban legend of the big fat woman who sat down on an aeroplane toilet and they didn't stand up before they flushed it and it slurped their guts out of
Oh
them and like flushed
Jesus.
it out? That's an urban legend, isn't it? Or is the sky not urban? I guess there's no
Well,
buildings there.
that's actually a mad sentence. That reminds me, no, that Chuck Palahniuk short story, Guts, where someone gets their guts sucked up for their arseholes in a swimming pool, in like a swimming pool pump or
So I think
something.
yeah, you got to be careful of that apparently. So
Yeah.
that's a potential urban legend. Rating the
Mm.
film, I'm going to join you on a C. I toyed with a C plus for a little while because actually there are some fun bits in this. I really like Rebecca Gayheart as the killer, not just because of her fabulous curls, not just for a 90s haircut. It was very
Mm.
of the time, but beautiful stuff. It's a little bit different from our killer. I like the themes of the kills, and there are some very good individual deaths in there. But there are other bits where it does dial back. It feels like at some parts, or maybe we spent too much on piercing the Dean on a spike, and therefore we have to kill Tara Reid off camera. You know, we just have to have her screaming "No, no," and then just seeing a figure swing an axe about.
Yeah.
So I feel like it leans back on other things, and therefore it makes it feel a little bit like a bit of a cop out. Other characters like Robert Englund's Wexler, and we assume the Brad Dourif's garage attendant are just disappeared off screen.
Mm.
Um, and also, it gives the impression that this could have been a great opportunity. And like you tell me, Ben, if this is resolved in a sequel or not. But I feel like you would have had a good opportunity to reveal and have a continued story at some point that she had an accomplice, because it feels like just the film. And Karen pointed out, so we're watching it like,
Yeah.
how has she gathered all those bodies? She has to like, when has she had time to gather this
Mm.
body and take it to this place? She must have been fucking on the go, solid.
Absolutely knackered. She'll sleep well tonight because she's
Um,
dead.
yeah. So she's floated away, Ben. She's escaped.
Oh yeah, sorry.
You've
Sorry.
fallen into the trap. You saw her fall into that water,
You're
and you
right.
thought
You're right.
that's the end of her. She's fine.
Absolutely fine.
She'd enrolled in another college and moved across the country before she'd got out of the water. She used her Excel phone to do it.
Well,
Um, so yeah, it has some missed opportunities, and the logic falls apart a little bit more so than it does in a really well crafted example of the genre like Scream that hangs together so well and is all very well put together. Feels like it has
mm.
a really good concept, but doesn't quite have some of the same qualities that make that an all-time classic. And I think, as you said, as we were going, it does have like a almost alternate reality version of what some of those slashers were, but it does have stuff to recommend it. It is enjoyable. There are some good performances in it. And if what you're in the mood for is a um, fairly low lift, switch your brain off and enjoy a bit of a slasher fun, one that doesn't come with problematic stereotypes and gay panic, then this one's fine. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Uh. Yeah. There we go. So that was Urban Legend, and I guess very briefly the sequels, but not really that much. But still, worth checking out if you're a completionist. You want all those urban legends under your belt. Uh. So next week we're going to be discussing Late Night with the Devil. The start of April, where we discuss a brand new film, brand new release every week. We've not done that before, so that's exciting. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all of our current patrons. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Go and follow us there. And of course, even though Danny Thompson wasn't on the episode this week, we will get her back in the near future for a different film, maybe another teen slasher. Who knows?
There's no
Let's do
shortage of
it.
them. We will get her back for one of those, or some of the genres of things that she went into. I mean, if Danny had been here, we'd talk about her appearing in a new British slasher, Punch, of course, where some of
Oh,
our
yeah, of
viewers
course.
might have seen her in that as a role as a landlady in the pub there. But plenty of slashers to go around. We'll see what we can do when we can reschedule things with Danny. In the meantime, check her out in things like Eating Miss Campbell as well.
Yeah.
keep it going. It'll help her carry on with the work that she's doing, house redecorations that she was sharing with us.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
lots to go in there. In the meantime, as well, I'll tell you what, if you are writing in on any of the socials that's been shared, let us know if you've got any contemporary urban legends that weren't covered in that. What would you, if you were the urban
Good point.
legend killer, not that you are, but if you were taking
Fair
revenge for a
point.
fiance that got killed by a selfish act of a couple of other school kids, and you're going to go for a really convoluted revenge plot, what urban legends
Mm,
would you go for? Send them
that's a
in.
good question. Good question. Send them in.
In the meantime, do be careful out there, everybody. Don't get run over by your own car. The E17 Brian Harvey legend.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, I don't
don't
know
let that
about you.
happen to you.
Don't know about you, Andy, but I'm off for a swim. Just got to find my parker. See you later.
Yeah, see you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye.